Hi there, guys. Third time's a charm, huh? Fourth time, actually, because I did one before this that was unlisted, so no one could see it. It took me a bit to notice that that was what was happening. So, couple of things. So, this is going to be, one second. Potentially the weekend. This is going to be the call-in show for the topic: Are down-low men cowards? If you guys are new to the call-in show and you missed the previous attempts, I was up in San Diego. I decided to take myself on a little bit of a mini vacation, and I tried to do. I tried really hard to do a broadcast from my hotel room. It just was not working, and I decided to, enjoy my vacation instead of like working during my vacation, which is often what I've ended up doing. Um, but anyway, the plan for the podcast is the new plan rather is that we're gonna have a new True Tea episode every Tuesday, and then we're going to have call-in shows in between those. So basically, we're going to have 2 weeks of discussing one True Tea episode. And I'm officially done posting full episodes onto YouTube. So for those of you guys who absolutely hate those videos getting posted, you don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because they're done and I'm not posting full episodes with the exception of video episodes. So I got a lot of, feedback, and I know that you guys really miss video episodes. So next week, the first Tuesday, we will be having our first video episode. Well, our first video episode for this iteration of True Tea. And that will be followed by a call-in show the following week, right? And that topic is what I'm really excited to talk about. It's the kink at Pride discussion. So I'm excited to hear you guys' feedback and thoughts on that. But today we are talking about down low men and cowardice. Let me take a sip of this, and let me get into my summary before we do call-ins. So, also, actually, give me 1 second. Let me know. Does this sound better? Do I sound better now? Actually, better than I did before, or is it like not even that noticeable? I don't know. All right, so pretty tolerable. Okay, we'll take tolerable. All right, so here's a summary of my thoughts on this topic. So, I am not somebody who has dealt with a man on the down low in a very long time. Um, a long time ago, I made the decision to not to give my time and energy to men who are on the down low. Um, and that has only made my relationships much, 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 much better. Now, in the podcast, I kind of clarified something because um, I don't love the way in which people tend to use down low to describe both men who are gay but not openly gay, who are in relationships with cis women, and men who are in relationships with trans women, or are interested in being with trans women but are too afraid to share it, because these to me are different scenarios completely. Um, a cis man who dates a cis woman who also is interested in trans women is not actively denying his attraction to women by being with trans women. Um, so it's not real. And most men that I have dated, at least the way that they view things in their own mind, they kind of see it, see trans women and cis women as similar but different, you know. And so it's not, in my opinion, the same exact conversation. because you know, whether or not a man okay, so I'm gonna hide the chat because I'm already gonna get distracted. Is a transgender woman or a pre-op? That's literally unrelated to the topic. We're not talking about whether or not a trans woman has certain genitalia. We're having a conversation about men who are ashamed to acknowledge their attraction to trans women. That's what we're talking about. Um, so let me hide this because I'm already gonna get distracted by chat. So let me hide the chat. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're having a conversation about men who are ashamed of acknowledging their attraction to trans women. Um, a lot of trans women who deal with men, because not all of us do, have had experiences with this because we still very much live in a society that actively denies and dismisses the validity of transgender people in general, but transgender women specifically. And men are, you know, by osmosis, I suppose, seen as lesser than for engaging with us, right? Now, the conversation started on the podcast. The conversation for me started on the podcast because somebody was having a discussion about why it is cowardice for a man who likes transgender women to not be openly trans attracted, whereas it's not cowardice for a trans woman to conceal her transness. Now, as far as I know, there are very, very, very few situations where men who are interested in trans women have been actively on the receiving end of violence because of it. Is that impossible? Does that never happen? No, not saying that nor arguing that. But it's a fairly uncommon occurrence. Generally speaking, when men are ashamed of acknowledging their attraction to trans women in public, they are afraid of losing social capital more than anything else. They're afraid of being ostracized from their communities. This is a conversation we generally have when we're speaking about down low men in the context of the Black community, because a lot of people, um, a lot of Black men feel as though they can't um, be open about what they're interested in because they know that it will ostracize them from their community at large. And for some people, they choose that connection to said community um, over living openly and proudly. Now, I brought up two other points relating to this in the podcast. I brought up the fact that because most men who are with trans women don't see their attraction to trans women as a true deviation away from their sexualities, as often the case heterosexual identifying men, they're not going to identify with their attraction to trans women. Generally speaking, that's not how it, at least with the men that I've dealt with, it tends to occur. A lot of men don't see their attraction to trans women as this thing that on their own would define them as something other than straight, if that's how they personally identify with. Um, so they're not going to be that open about it for that reason. Also, a lot of trans women tend to think that men who do identify with their attraction to trans women are, as we call them, chasers, right? And so that does kind of complicate the conversation a bit because, well, at what point is a man a chaser and at what point is he just unashamed of acknowledging his attractions, right? And I think that's an interesting conversation for another day. But today I want to talk to you guys about cowardice and quote being on the down low, because I personally digest men who are ashamed of acknowledging their interactions with me as cowardice, because I have been physically in those situations several times in my life where men exhibit fear in front of me because of who I am and because of what would come to them because of it being known that they're in a relationship with me, right? Now, I see it as cowardice because way back when I made the decision to face the world as myself, you know, I said I'm not going to actively deny myself. I'm not going to actively um, you know, downplay myself. I can't be with a man who's ashamed of being with me and also say that I love myself, right? And so again, I don't deal with down low men. And I personally see it as cowardice because if all you're afraid of losing is your social capital, I get why you would hold on to that. But it's hard for me to personally identify with it as somebody who decided a long time ago that being honest with myself is the better way for me to be. Right. So I want to have this conversation because I feel like some of the conversations we've had have kind of teetered on the have gotten close to saying that people who are closeted are cowardly. Um, but that's not how I feel at all. Actually, I feel like in most scenarios, people who withhold their deviation from being cis or het, I think that people hold back on that for a reason. People tend not to share that information for a reason. Um, and so I'm not going to say that holding stuff back for survival is a bad thing. The difference, between what I said about trans women being out as trans and cis men who are attracted to trans women not being open is that usually trans women are concealing themselves for survival, whereas these men are generally concealing themselves because of shame. And a trans woman isn't generally not out as trans because of shame. She's generally not out because of her safety. That's generally speaking why she's closeted. If she has the ability to be stealth, right? So that's what I said. That's the summary of my thoughts. And I wanted to open this conversation up to a couple of people. And we're going to open up the call lines in just a second. Now, again, I'm not looking at the chat right now, so I don't know what people are saying. Um, but here's something I want you guys to be aware of before we even start having this conversation. Keep in mind, I have to edit these. Okay? I don't want to be here for 3 hours. In fact, I don't want to be here for 2 hours. So, I want the people who call in to be very much focused on the topic at hand. Don't call in because you just want to talk to me. Don't call in to say hi, hello. I don't want to be an asshole about this, but I'm realizing that I probably have to be a little bit more um, deliberate with the way that I do this just for my own sanity. So if you call and you want to talk about something other than what we're discussing, I will just close the line because um in previous times where we've done this and I've entertained the discussions of people who were calling in, um, just to talk about some other stuff, there were a lot of people who didn't get heard. And I would rather have people who respect me enough to respect this process be heard than the people who just really want to say hi to me and don't respect what we're doing here. So I'm going to open up the call lines and so what I'm assuming this is because I still don't know exactly how they choose calls, but I assume it goes in order. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the call lines, and I want only certain groups of people to call at a certain time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the lines. I'm going to say I want this person to call. Then I'm going to wait a bit. Then I'm going to say I want these people to call. Right? Then I'm going to wait a bit. I'm going to say these other people to call. Right? And that's how we're going to do it. Okay. And then after a certain point, obviously, if you belong to all these groups, you can call in. But I want this to be a very particular conversation that goes in a very particular way. So please respect the process. Okay. So, anyway, we're opening up lines right now. Let me take another sip. I'm going to actually, no, let me do this. I'm going to open up lines and here we go. All right. So the lines are open. Let me log onto my computer so that I can pin that. The lines are open. And right now, the only people I want to call are men who are, in their own personal opinion, down low about their attraction to trans women. If I answer the phone and you are not, because like I said, it's probably going to go in order. So if you're calling right now and you're on the line and you are not a man who's on the down low, hang up. If you are a man who's on the down low, call. And right now, I'm only wanting to hear from men specifically. So I'm going to give this a little bit of time. Then I'm going to give another group of people that I want to call in. Okay. So right now, only men who, let's expand it. Men who are on the down low or men who were on the down low but aren't anymore when it comes to their attraction to trans women. All right. So those are the only people I would like to call in. Now, in previous times when I've asked a specific group of men to call in, they haven't. Or no, that's not true. Um, Last time when we asked bi men to call in, so many called in, and I did not expect for them to call in. But they did. They did, and they dominated so much of the conversation. We're trying to avoid that now, but I'm saying that I have very little faith that men who are on the down low are interested in calling in. But if you are, you would be adding to the conversation greatly. And I'm not here to attack you. I'm here to talk to you. Okay. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. And then we're going to open up to another group. Okay. So I'm going to take another sip of this, waiting for some calls to come in. Oh, wait. Actually, let me pin the number. So if you would like to call in, the number is 281 429 8469. All right, let me try to pin it again. Oh, I can't find it. Where did it go? Someone comment the number right now so I can pin it. Because I'm trying to avoid typing. Somebody just comment the number so I can pin it. Okay, Kayla commented it. Thank you. All right, so here's the next group of people that I want to be called in. Okay? The next group of people I want to call in are people who have dealt with down low men. People who have dealt with men who are on the down low. Okay? So if you're a person who has dealt with a man on the down low, oh wait, let's rewind. If you're a trans woman who's dealt with men on the down low, please call in. Okay? So the line is open. The number is 281 429 8469. All right? If you are a trans woman who has dealt with men on the down low, please call in now. All right? I'm giving you this time. If you want to call in and talk about your situation, call in. And the lines are going to remain open after I go through all of these groups of people, but I wanted to frame the conversation you know, well, people are saying that lines are about to ring off the hook. I got 2 people online. I got 2 people. So if you are a trans woman who has dealt with men on the down low, call in. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Okay. Let me check this Discord message because, of course, people got to fucking blab up on Discord. Okay. All right. So we've asked men who are on the down low to call in and trans women who have dealt with men on the down low to call in, right? Okay. So at this point, I would like for anybody who's struggled with their attractions to trans women or trans people in general to call in, right? Now's your time to shine. If you're somebody who's processed your attractions to trans folks, oof, why is Discord so annoying? If you're somebody who's processed your attractions to trans women, Um, oh God, it's so annoying. I wish I need to figure out a way to mute that sound because it drives me insane. I can only mute so many things. I hope it's important whatever people are talking about on Discord right now because it does not need to be annoying me. All right, so if you're somebody who's ever struggled to process your attraction to trans folks and you've come out on the other end, or you're still going through it, you know, call in. People are asking about links to shows. So all of these shows, the live call-in shows, they are archived on my Patreon. So if you're somebody who wants to see the old, long, unedited call-in shows, you have to sign up for my Patreon. And that's accessible to everybody at all levels, including the $1 level. The people asking about yesterday's failed live broadcast, or was it yesterday, a couple days ago? We did like 2 different failed broadcasts that did not get posted. So somebody says, ain't no way anyone is calling in, they'd be outing themselves. No, I don't know why you think they would be. You can give me a fake name, you don't have to tell me all information about you and where you're at. We're just having conversations, we're just having conversations. Someone says, I want to call in because I'm a bisexual woman. So I don't know the angle at which you're wanting to call in, but if it's to rehash previous conversations, we have definitely devoted a lot of time to that. You guys can listen to the full call-in show for that on Patreon. But if it's about this particular topic, of course, feel free to call in. All right, so we've asked those people to call in. Now, I would like anyone of all genders, sexualities, whatever, who's dealt with anyone being ashamed of them, and wanting to hide them, just in general, to call in right now. So I've gotten a lot of questions about Downlow. What does Downlow mean? Okay, so Downlow is a term that is really popularly used amongst Black folks. Usually when we're talking about down low, we're talking about Black men generally. Not always, but generally. Men who are on the down low are essentially men who are not open about their attractions. It's a term that generally refers to men who are gay, who are hiding their attractions to just men. But occasionally, because a lot of people see relationships between trans women and cis men to be basically that, it refers to some men who are involved with trans women. So, obviously, I don't know if people understand this, but I tend to use language that is not the language that it should be, but is the language of what it is now. So, it I know this certain phrases will only resonate with certain people, and that kind of is what it is. Um, so that's kind of that. All right, so the line's open. I'm going to start actually taking calls. We've got 9 people on the line. If you would like to call in and it's on topic, that's important. Please feel free to call in. If you would like to call in and you just want to say hi to me, don't fucking do it. Not today. Don't fucking do it. Don't clog up the lines. Don't make it harder for people who actually want to have the conversation. Don't fucking do it. All right. Okay. So I am going to take some calls now. Also, this is also something else that I wanted to also add into the conversation. There's a parallel conversation about women and trans men, where cis women who date trans men are ashamed of dating trans men. If you're a trans guy who's had that experience, please feel free to call in. Let's talk about that, because that's some shit I have no exposure to. So we'd also like to hear from that side of the conversation as well. Anyway, let's take some calls. Hello.
Oh.
Hi, who am I speaking to?
Hello?
Hey there, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can. Hi, Kat.
Hi
I'm
there.
currently at work, so I'm gonna
Oh,
try and make this quick and stay specific. Um,
okay.
I'm a black bisexual man, and I'm attracted to trans women, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my like worst fear, I consider myself down low, kind of specifically in regards to trans women, because my worst fear is kind of like being seen as a chaser.
Ah,
I Yeah, I don't want to be a chaser. So that's really like the only reason that I kind of don't actively seek out trans women.
mm,
Because I there's a lot of people on Grinder who are looking for trans women, and they seem to not have the best outlook when it comes to the people that they're trying to have sex with for one night or something. Um,
mm,
so
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a complicated thing. That's kind of why I brought up that like some men, when we define a chaser as just a man who expresses interest and attraction to trans women, that's gonna mean every guy who ever talks to us, right? And so, there's definitely some situations where I've seen like men avoiding pursuing relationships with trans women if only because they're afraid of being seen as weird because they're attracted to them because this person is transgender. Um,
Mm.
and so you're saying that you've kind of been in that position where you've have you avoided pursuing certain people because you don't want to be seen as a chaser? Is that what it's come down to?
Um, yes, in some cases, sometimes in Grinder, I'll see somebody who looks attractive, and I'll try and avoid them just because I don't. I'm sure that they get lots of crappy messages and dick pics, right off the bat or something. Um, but um, yeah. What was the question? I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
I
a little
asked if
nervous.
you've avoided relationships because you're afraid of being seen as a chaser. I'm
Mm.
taking it yes.
Um. Uh. No, I wouldn't say that. It's just not actively like pursuing trans women.
Ah.
Um. I don't think I've had the opportunity to like be in a like serious relationship or anything with any trans women.
Hmm.
Um. But yeah.
Well, you're also, I mean, it sounds like you're looking on Grinder, which, to me, um, that's probably not the place to look for that. I don't know. I know that
Hmm.
trans women use Grinder, you know,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
but
I'm
I
not
don't know if,
actively I wouldn't say that I'm actively like looking for trans women on Grinder, but the trans women who are on Grinder who I do find attractive, I usually would like not talk to them just because I just don't want to be another crappy Grinder alert. You know what I mean?
well, that's interesting to me because are you afraid of that because your way of engaging with people is to send them dick pics and do all those things?
No, no, not at all, not at all.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just I don't know. I see a lot of trans women on Twitter.
Hmm.
So maybe it's just me looking at their art and stuff, and then their talk of chasers and the things that they go through. I see that stuff and I'm like, dang, that fucking sucks ass. And I don't want to contribute to that in any way. Um, so I avoid even like giving myself the opportunity to do so. I know I wouldn't, and I know I'm not a chaser, but it's still something that I don't want to be perceived as a chaser. Um,
Well, I
and I
mean,
feel like it would be easy to just because of trans women's experiences. Um, but yeah, but
well,
I
I
don't know. I'm not a
guess
trans woman.
I guess when you talk about this, it's confusing to me for a couple of reasons because in my opinion, it's very easy to not seem like a chaser. You know,
Mm.
most
I also
chasers,
think that.
most chasers are going to very narrowly focus in on your transness. That's what they're going to talk about. That's what they're going to focus
Mm,
on. That's all they're going to be
mm-hmm,
interested in. I personally sort of categorize chaser in a very specific way because usually chasers are men who are not only interested in trans women but deliberately pursue them, multiple of them, um, doing tactics that prey on their insecurities. Um,
hmm,
that's kind of how I personally define a chaser. It's not their interest in
mm,
trans women on its own. It's the fact that they have developed this strategy to essentially tricking trans women into fucking them. That's personally how
mm,
I look at a chaser. Not, I don't see every single man who ever speaks to me as, you know, a chaser. Um,
mm,
but yeah, it's interesting to me that you're saying you would avoid, because to me it's like, just speak to somebody respectfully,
mm-hmm,
just say hello or talk to them like a normal person, talk to them like you would every other woman.
mm-hmm,
That's, like, that's kind of, I think, a very normal thing. But so, like, when I hear men express hesitation like this, to me it sounds like they want to actively treat them a certain way, because
mm,
it's very easy for me not to be disrespectful to others. I can't. I also personally don't like this, like, I'm gonna baby a trans person because they might get offended sort of thing. You know,
mm.
when really all you have to do is just, like, talk to someone.
Not be a cunt.
Yeah, just don't be a jerk, which I think is pretty easy. Like, are there some trans women that get really sensitive and touchy at any man who expresses any interest in them? Yes. Yes, that's a thing. I've seen
Mm,
it. But I think, I guess I have a hard time understanding why you would avoid pursuing somebody because you don't want to be seen as a chaser unless you're doing chaser stuff. Does that make any sense?
um, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Well, I can assure you that I'm not doing chaser activities,
Mhm.
but I think it's I think it's more like there's so many of them that, like, I don't want to be like automatically judged. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that this fear like completely, you know, shuts off any possibility of me pursuing or trying to talk to, obviously in a very nice, respectable, and normal fashion with trans women. Um,
Mhm.
but it's just something that's in the back of my mind. So, um, maybe not in the back of my mind, but it's just something that I'm aware of that trans women go through, and uh, it's just something that I don't want to even like be seen as in any way. So
Mhm.
I
Well,
I, I just like
I'm so.
I'm a bit more hesitant to engage with trans women just because, or at least I'm a lot more cautious when I do so. Not
See, okay, but see,
cautious
to
sounds like I'm
me,
gonna do chaser stuff, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, to me, that, with all respect, sounds like an excuse. I'm not going to say that the anxiety isn't real, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a dude and I don't pursue women. But to me, speaking, because there's so many assholes out there, it's so easy to
Mhm.
be a decent person. In fact, that's part of what
Mhm.
these chasers know, is these chasers do know that if you're just slightly nice to a trans woman, they're so used to putting up with bullshit that, you know, all you have to do is say a couple nice things and,
Mhm.
suddenly you've got what you want. You know, I
Mhm.
guess I don't understand I understand the anxiety around being accused of being a chaser. I don't totally get avoiding being with trans women because you're afraid of being accused of being a chaser, to the point where you're not engaging with trans women in the way that you'd like. That to me doesn't
Mhm.
make a ton of sense.
Mhm.
um but everyone's got their boundaries. I guess what I'm trying to sort out is what you're expressing an actual, because obviously with this anxiety that you're expressing, you're kind of putting the onus on trans women. You're kind of saying, I am avoiding trans women because of their actions and thoughts and feelings, right? But to
Hmm.
me, that doesn't
Hmm.
totally make sense
Yeah, that sounds
because,
like a cunt. That sounds fucked up.
well, I wouldn't use that
Not
word
cool.
because I personally wouldn't use that word, but that's kind of what it
Sorry.
sounds like
You
when you
sorry.
say, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I know you have a program. I completely forgot that I'm on a show. Sorry
Yes,
about
yes,
that.
you are. It's okay. Um, but it's an interesting thing to me because I guess I don't get it. I don't get. It
Hmm.
sounds like an excuse that may or may not come from something you haven't fully worked through. Because
Mm.
I mean, the women are gonna have shitty people approach them all the time. Um,
Hmm.
I think I don't know. I don't think it's hard to not do that or be accused of doing
Yeah.
that. Because also part of
Yeah.
what you're saying is that these women are so sensitive and so easily taken to that point that like you just saying hi to them would get you called a chaser, which I don't think is realistic either. Am I making any sense?
Yeah. That make. I mean, everything you said, everything I've heard you say makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So yeah, I'm sure it's. I'm pretty. I would say that it's more of an anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Um. It's more of like, oh man, I hope she doesn't think this about me. You know, when I'm trying to like make conversation or something, right? But it's
Yeah.
not. I wouldn't say it's. I wouldn't say it's something that like I'm never gonna like pursue a trans woman because I'm gonna I'll be accused of being a chaser. It's more of like an anxiety that I have during like initial first contact. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I definitely would like encourage you to think a bit more about like, is this an anxiety that's based in reality, or is this one where I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of because I self-sabotage all the time. It sounds like you might be doing a bit of that, a bit of self-sabotage, where you're
Mm-hmm.
just sort of assuming that a woman's going to react a certain way when you know, women know they're going to be approached on dating apps. We know that. We know that men are going to reach
Mm-hmm.
out to us and try to connect with us. We'd appreciate it if they read our fucking profiles, but that's not the problem. The
Yeah.
problem is the outright disrespect. That
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it's very hard um to be a woman on a dating app and not get some bullshit from some guy at some point. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's more of the issue than
Mm-hmm.
anything. And so, you know, I wouldn't have too much anxiety around it, but I do respect that you're adding to this conversation that one of your fears is just being seen as a chaser. I'm curious why are you so afraid of being seen as a chaser? Because I mean I get why, but I know that chaser is a word that's thrown around a lot, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and to me it often is misapplied. And I know men who have had to get to a point where they're like, yeah, people are going to call me a chaser, but I know that's not me, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think I would fit into that camp. If that were to if I were to be like categorized in any way. Um, I know for a fact that I'm not any person that I engage with. I'm not gonna like fetishize them. That's not something that I do. Um,
Mhm.
but and it's something that I dislike very much too. Um, obviously, like know a little bit about what uh, the concept and everything from a little bit of firsthand experience. Not exactly the same, obviously, but it's it's just something that's like it's just something that I know is a possibility. So I kind of like am just hyper aware of it, I guess, when
Mm.
I'm talking to a trans woman because I would be like, oh man, I hope she doesn't, think I'm some fucked up person just because I'm talking to her. You know what I mean?
But is that more so? your feelings about it being fucked up that you're talking to her. Because have you ever been called a chaser? Has somebody ever actually called you a chaser?
No,
Okay. So this is like an anxiety based on something that hasn't even happened yet.
that is correct.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, you should sit with that a little bit and think about like why you're so willing to dismiss, because that's something to think about. You've never been called a chaser, but
Mm.
you avoid pursuing trans women because you're afraid of them calling you a chaser.
Hmm. Yeah,
So can
very
you
interesting.
Yeah, so can you acknowledge that maybe the anxiety isn't 100% based in something real?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
think,
that's
yeah.
how somebody's
I mean, of
saying
course
that.
it's not real. It didn't
Yeah, that's
happen.
how anxiety works. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, thanks very much, Kat. think I've concluded my little portion here. I'm very glad that I could contribute. And thanks for the little tip for self-reflection. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah, just think about it a little bit.
All right, for sure.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Ooh, oh shit. Did I close the fan line? Oh god. Oh god. Okay, we still have people on the line. Perfect. I thought I ended the call. Okay, we've got people online still. Great. So, I mean, I don't really understand where what we said there. Okay, so for reference, you guys, these call-ins are edited, so um I will be posting an edited version of this. This version will be shared on Patreon later. But for now, this is how we're doing it. So the times where people are talking for a long time and not quite getting to the point, that stuff will be edited out. So don't worry too much about um don't worry too much about that, because it'll I've made a lot of somewhat incoherent calls sound very coherent. So don't worry too much about that. So if my assumptions are correct, that is the only man who we're hearing from, but I might be wrong. So if you are a down low man who is secretive about his attractions to trans women, please feel free to call in. Anyway, I'm gonna take the next call now. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, who am I
Hey,
speaking
Kat.
to?
This is Katie.
Hi, Katie. What's your story? What's your true tea?
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go over here because I'm embarrassed. I'm going to tell you about. Okay, so I'm a trans woman. I'm 23, and I've known this guy for my whole life, like since elementary school, and he is the classic definition of down low. Like, he blocks me after he leaves my house, type
Mm.
things. And it's been like this for years. So,
Wait, girl,
and
you
that's just, yeah.
sorry. You it's been like this for years, so he's done that to you more than once.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why. This is the
Okay.
person who I lost my virginity to, so maybe there's that tied into it.
Mhm.
I'm from Maine and I'm mixed race. He's mixed race as well. Maybe there's that sort of he's familiar to me. Maybe I don't know. I think I'm sort of attracted to the bad guy type, the guy who kind of doesn't show this interest in me until, but then he like Razel. I mean, oh, not I won't say his name, but this guy shows me so much love in the bedroom and stuff. Like, he said that he's loved me since elementary school, since forever. He
Mhm.
says all these amazing, wonderful things to me,
Mhm.
and it feels so perfect. And it kind of just overflows the hurt and the emptiness that I feel when he blocks me after. Because I understand, just he's down low. He doesn't want anyone to find out. Like, I've talked to my cousin about him, and he's never gotten mad at me or anything, except one time he did like kind of threaten my life. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about like weird stuff about like.
Girl, listen. Okay, I don't mean to cut you off, but baby, I'm gonna need you to love yourself a bit more. I get it. I get it. I totally get it, because I've been through the same thing where they say that you're amazing and you're the most sexiest, hottest, I love you. They say all the things that, they want you to hear, because they know that. And girl, you at a certain point need to acknowledge that, he's got his shit he has to work through. And, that I'm not going to say that maybe he does have some feelings for you, maybe. But,
Right, which
you
is
know,
like the only point I'm trying to make is that he's got this excuse that
mhm.
if someone found out, if his mom or his dad found out that he was dating a trans woman, he would essentially lose a lot. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's valid. And so it's been going on for years because he made me feel good in the moment. And I understand
Mhm.
why he did the things that he did. Other than that, Kat, I deal with down low guys all the time. Like the guy who just called, I'm not going to berate him any more than the people have in the comments. But like, you're creating a random anxiety that is non existent. Nobody knows. I don't know who he is on the street. Nobody knows, like, me on the street. If we're walking down the street holding hands or not holding hands, I feel like there's a lot of created anxieties there that
Mhm.
it's I don't want to say words like they're crazy, but I mean it makes me feel like people are just trying to get us for sex and they don't really put much thought into it, but they're going to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we're going to have sex and then we're not going to do anything else because of course not." And I
Mhm.
think that we need to say, "Hey, I've had enough of this. You're going to give me what I want." Like a cis woman gets relationships and tied down all the time to this day, even with hookup culture. But I don't know, maybe Kat, like, do you think like hookup culture is contributing to like the fact that like trans women and people just aren't dating anymore and they aren't taking this seriously and it's just like a booty call that
Well, I mean,
doesn't have any strings attached?
there's layers
Mhm.
here. There's layers here. So there's several things that I wanted to talk about based on what you said. So first, I wanted to. I think it's really great that you brought up the anxiety that was created, because I think maybe that's what we observed in our previous call. Because I think that this conversation is actually really hard for people outside of this situation to understand, because they might not know these experiences, but like this made up anxiety, at least for me, is like a very huge portion of the way in which down low men um materialize themselves, because it's an anxiety about something that like doesn't exist half the time, things that aren't really a concern, really. And that's why it can be so painful, because it'll be things that he's nervous about that often aren't even real, aren't even true. You're right to say that, with the guy that you've been dealing with, he will deal with a bunch of bullshit for being out about his attractions to trans women. But my thing, my counter to that is, that's true, yes, but I don't think you can personally accept that and say that you're somebody who loves themselves personally. Um,
Yeah, me.
yeah,
Mhm.
because it's
Or him.
you know, you're accepting yourself as a lesser. He's telling you everyone would be ashamed if they knew that I was with you. So we have to be ashamed. You have to respect the fact that I'm going to block you after I fuck you every time. You've got to accept the fact that this isn't going to go anywhere beyond the walls of your apartment. Um, and he's got some real anxieties based on some real shit, but that's not your burden. You know, that is not your burden, girl. It really truly isn't. And so,
It's hard, and I think that he's a master manipulator because he's just texted me last time, and now he hasn't blocked me for a while, but we haven't met yet. Like this year, we haven't seen each other
mhm,
since like the middle of the pandemic,
mhm,
and he's like kind of like, I don't know if he's like stringing me along by saying he wants to take pictures together next time, which I've never been able to like take a picture of him or like with him, and he's like holding that
Hmm.
over my head.
See,
And I
but
don't
the
know
thing
why
is,
he does these things other than to show that he has these real feelings that
no,
he has
girl,
real.
that's not it at all. That's not it at
And then the
all.
only thing that I wanted to kind of bring up and like,
Hmm.
stand by, I know that I have problems, but I think that the fact that like, someone's parents could be so like yours, aren't they very unaccepting of you, and you had to
Hmm.
kind of deal with that at a young age?
Hmm.
Like I never had that. My parents accepted me.
Hmm.
So like I can't sit here and be like, "Oh, like how dare you?" when that's like, if my parents were that, I probably would still hide it too, even though I
Well,
chose not to hide it.
that's what I'm trying to
And I
say
did
is
have to have
like,
several conversations. Like, I think that if I'm not worth, okay, so I had to have several conversations with my family to get them to accept me fully. So if that's really all that that is, I guess you're right, and that it's not okay to have this barrier of like, oh, you're trans and I don't want my family to disown me. Like, well, have a conversation with them. If your parents actually did love you, don't you want to know? And if you actually love me, and if I'm going to fall for this fake lie, then I
I
think that
mean,
it should be very that. And I've known him since I lost my virginity to him when I was 18, so 23 now.
yeah, I totally, I've been where you are, so I get where you're coming from, and I think that, so this is something I try to talk about, especially in the context of down low men, chasers, etc. Um, you said that he said certain things to you, and you're digesting that as an expression of love. You know,
Yeah.
what I am piecing together is that it sounds like it's not so much that he has, well, I can't speak about how his feelings, but
Well, I mean,
I'm
you're
going to
correct.
assume
Whatever
that,
you're going to say is correct.
what I was
You
going to
know,
say is I think it's more, he just knows that you're stable and you're going to always be there. You're not
I
going to say
know.
no. You're going
Yeah.
to be
And that's why
down.
I'm scared to block him, because then what am I going to do? What if he was really going to be there at
Girl,
the end, like when we're
but he's
40?
not. So, sis, you're gonna have to
Oh,
learn,
thank you for
and
this.
I want you to
Oh,
learn
I've
this
been,
sooner rather than
thank you.
later,
I need to hear
because
this. Thank you. I will. I know. I
I,
know.
I
I
will
know that
only
you're
well, let me
right. And
say
I just
this.
wanted to
I
go
don't mean to
ahead.
come. I'm not trying to come at you at all. This is me because I feel
You're
like I'm
not.
talking to myself. You know, these men will say anything and everything, and they know, like, especially shit like, I'm gonna take pictures with you. Oh, next time we'll take pictures. You know what will happen?
Yeah.
Y'all will get together and suddenly he won't have a camera, and suddenly there's no Wi-Fi to upload the pictures,
Oh my
and
gosh. Okay,
suddenly
and
she
then do you want to
can't.
hear some true tea?
Uh-huh.
Because when I was 18 and we had just started like hooking up, he was like, "Oh, I've actually always loved you." And then I was like, "Really?" Because I was honestly surprised that he had said that so genuinely.
Hmm.
And then he was like, "Oh, no, only since you started dressing like this, gesturing to my transition and all of my."
Yeah, baby, this is
So,
this is 101. This is 101. All the things you're telling me, this is just like 101 shit that men say to insecure trans women, knowing that they can say some stuff that's going to, get them in a position. Oh, she hung up. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'll finish my thought. I'm sorry about that, but it's like talking to myself, like, these men will say any and everything. Any and everything. Like, this is, I mean, we talked about this a bit on my channel, but this is why I often don't digest um compliments in the right way, because I've had people say so much shit to me because they know that, like, it's what I want to hear to get what they want from me, and it fucks with your head. And she mentioned that cis women get wifed up and things like that. No, they do the same shit to cis women. They do the same exact shit to cis women. They really do. They really do. Like, and it's wild. Like, there was a time where I was young and innocent and believed that when any man said he loved me, that he genuinely cared. You know, like, girl, and I miss those times of like innocence where where I wasn't bitter because they will say any and everything, and especially shit like I thought I love you so quickly. Ugh. There are some men who just know that women are out there wanting to have those sorts of connections, wanting to have that fairy tale, we met at the cafe and now he's in love with me sort of thing. And so they will lay it out on the line, they'll lay it on thick. They'll say, I love you. You're the most amazing person I've ever known. I've always been in love with you. Da 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 da. But they don't fucking mean it. They don't fucking mean it. They don't fucking mean it. They're just trying to get what they want. That's why they'll lie to you and then block you after they fuck you. Baby, let me tell you. Okay, let's have a real share, okay? Girl, I've had a handful of experiences literally like this where I will have sex with a man and we'll be talking for weeks on end, right? We meet up, I trip and fall, and slip and fall on his dick. And then he blocks me. And then he blocks me. I think sometimes trans women feel so alone in this experience with men. But baby, trust me, they do this to all women. Are these men more likely to quote wife up a cis woman? Yeah, yeah, they totally are. But they do this to everyone. They do this to everyone. And it's to me why my relationships with men are so complicated. Cause like I'm sitting over here like, listen, I'm not 21 anymore. I've actually said this to men when they're trying to pull some shit. Because you know what? Uh, when she said that he said, I've loved you, but then I loved you forever, and then corrected himself and said, since you've been dressing like this, baby, baby, that was him acknowledging the wound, right? Saying that you look good despite the wound, but poking at it at the same time, you know? And this shit, it's so like somebody mentioned, it sounds so sociopathic and narcissistic. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but girl, it's basically that. And that's why I really do reserve chasers for a specific type of guy. Because to me, it's not just the guys who are interested in trans women, it's the guys who do shit like that. That shit, it's so insidious, especially because these men are specifically, you know, they're aware of the thing. They're very aware of the fact that you are somebody who has an insecurity, um, and they're gonna poke at it, And apparently your phone died and she didn't hang up. That's good. I was concerned, but baby, he's in your life and you're still open to fucking him. Look, I very much intimately understand what it's like um to be in a relationship that is basically abusive, but you have all of these excuses for why it's okay because you've sort of accepted yourself as a lesser than. You've sort of accepted yourself as, well, there's this like reasonable excuse as to why this man can't claim me because I'm just this disgusting trans person, you know? And sis, I get where that comes from, but you know, like I said, when I started to not settle for those men, it was it gagged me how, I thought I wasn't going to be able to find men who wanted to do basic shit like take me to a bar. You know, I thought that was totally inaccessible to me. The moment I started saying I'm not going to accept this bullshit anymore, girl, you know, like I understand and identify with, she's been with it. She's been dealing with him for a long time. This is the first, person who she had sex with. Da, 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 da. I get it, sis. But at a certain point in time, you have to, leave that behind and accept that you deserve better. Accept that you deserve more. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, sis, because there ain't no reason why you should be sucking any man's dick when he's too afraid of taking pictures with you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, gra. The bar is literally on the ground, you know? And the thing that's crazy is, girl, once you manage to like raise your standards a bit, you notice that like, there there are men with good dick who actually respect me. What? I thought the only good dick came from toxic men who abused me and hated everything about me, who were too ashamed, about their relationship with me to claim me. Girl, there are some men out there who have done some self examination and they got good dick too, sis. So, it's don't get so hung up on this one dude who, is disrespecting you. You deserve so much more. You deserve so much more. I promise you. Julie says the pickings are thin though, but sis, listen. If if I could get twice the amount of men I currently get, bitch, it'd be too fucking much. It would be too fucking much. You know? Like if there's more, I don't think it's really that thin person. But then again, maybe it's because I live in LA and all this stuff, But the pickings ain't slim. In fact, we had a real good harvest in during this pandemic. There was a real good harvest. Okay, so I say all that to say that, sis, you could definitely, and I'm gonna try not to be too. I'm trying. I'm gonna try not to come for the girls, but it's so hard listening to me. It's hard for me to listen to somebody who's talking about a current relationship that they're in. You know, where they're being mistreated without getting a bit like, baby, who do we have to fight? Low key, who do we have to fight? Because don't let him treat you like that. You deserve so much better. Anyway, let's take the next call. Hello.
Hi. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. Who am I speaking to, and what is your true tea?
Hey, so my name is Valentina. Basically, I was more concerned about the topic being down low men being cowards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I personally, I don't know, when I date, I just, something that had been on my mind is how hard it is to find a man who is secure enough with themselves. Basically, is I feel like it's more insecurity than cowardice. Like I feel like I remember watching in one of your videos that maybe coward is the wrong word, and I definitely agree with that. And I feel like it's more insecurity than anything because they're more like scared. I would say that to be with a woman like that, and on top of being scared of being seen with a trans woman, they also probably like have what is it, like just those preconceived notions of what trans women are, those old ideas, and I'm sure they're probably like really stuck and hung up on those ideas probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I say cowardice only because, like, I don't know about your experiences, but I've been with men who have literally physically made me hide, because they are so afraid of the idea of us even being seen in proximity.
Uh,
I've had men run away for, like, after I say hello to them, physically run away from me because they were terrified of somebody, seeing that we've had any sort
That's,
of relationship, you
that
know?
sounds so traumatic.
Yeah. And so to me, it's like, I think that it's cowardice because, some men are cowardly, insecure. I think I think it's both. It could be both,
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both.
it could be both insecurity and cowardice. I think that most men have never been in a position where they've ever been able to speak to a trans woman. So to me, being
Exactly.
insecure, that makes sense because it's new. It's new about, it's new to you. And, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what your experiences directly with Download Men have been. Can you tell us a story if you've got any?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so even hard to go back to think to those times because just as you say, it's hard to like. It was even hard to listen to the girl from before with her story with her current relationship because I was also just like, no, like you're missing the red flags like I used to.
Mhm.
But I had never been in any like committed relationship with a demo man. Only I'm kind of younger, and thank God I had more people like you and Natalie. Honestly, it's just like it's helpful to have trans women who have lived their lives. It's like this good information basically to keep in the back of your mind because I've definitely been wary most of these men to not be in a committed relationship with, but from personal experience, it's just as soon as you meet them, it's not hard to notice. They don't really respect you as a person. They'll see you as this unicorn, this like new thing to try out, and it's just really dehumanizing. And there's always the easy telltale signs of like this person is more into your label than you, and then that's when it starts getting weird.
Yeah, definitely. Like when they can't stop talking about, trans this and trans that. That to me, that's
Exactly,
definitely a sign.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a huge red flag. It's so easy to tell most of the time.
Yeah. Well, now I'm curious, like, where do you meet men? Because the previous caller was talking about Grinder, which, in my opinion, isn't like the best
It's the
place to
bottom of the
find trans
barrel,
women. Yeah.
unfortunately. But it's bottom of the barrel, but it's unfortunately on my phone. um, I mean, I don't know. I can't escape it, but the only reason I stay on there is because every once in a blue moon, like there's some good guys on there, but for the most part, I think where I get my dates from, they're mostly just from Tinder and Bumble. I don't know. It's just because Grindr's just too full of gay men. Like I know there's some bi men there. It's mainly for like queer men, but some bi men there are really good. But for me, I prefer Bumble and Tinder only because the bi men from those like um, dating pools, I guess, aren't so sexist. I don't mean to sound like judgmental, but it's too much on Grinder.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's what it is, isn't it? Like it's the hey, you're standing 10 feet away from me. Want to have sex? Isn't that kind of what it is?
Yeah, that's true. But it sucks. It's almost every trans woman's like first like app to like for like dating specifically.
Is it? Is this the new millennial thing
Kind
that's
of.
going on Grinder?
Would definitely say so.
I mean, I think all of these apps are basically the same. You see the same people on every app. So, sometimes even if there's people on Grinder who, may be looking for, a fun time, that doesn't mean that they're not looking for other stuff too or open to other stuff too. So I can
True.
see, I can
I
see why
definitely
some
agree.
people would use it and think, oh, I'm, trying to, you know, find the one off who would be looking for something more than that. Well, are you even looking for something more than that? Are you in a space where you're mostly looking for not deep committed relationships?
Oh no, so for right now, I don't know. I feel like for me, I have like a pretty good knowledge of my limits, and so
Mm.
I have a good that right now is definitely not a time for any relationship. Like I'm not trying to have someone deal with my issues right now that I'm going through, but definitely what I'm using most dating apps for right now is at least is kind of specifically just dates, just
Mm-hmm.
looking for a guy that's interesting enough to like hold a conversation, doesn't like let it die off, like a decent people basically. And so Tinder, Bumble, Grinder's like the worst, like with the least amount of them. But for the most part, I'm just looking for a guy to like get to know, there'll be like some intimacy, some romance, but like, just basically like socializing, getting to know more people in my area. That's more that sort of what I'm doing on the apps right now. Date. Yeah.
Now I have a question for you as a person who's using these apps and things. When you see men openly acknowledging their attraction to trans women, do you see that as a positive thing or a negative thing? Like, would you dismiss a guy who wrote like open to cis women and trans women, for example, in his profile? Would you see that as him being a chaser?
I would not inherently. I mean, it doesn't. It genuinely seems like if someone's writing that on their profile, they're probably like aware of the chaser, the whole chaser ordeal. They're just trying to show you that they're open to whichever woman transports it. So I guess not initially. I would just probably be a little wary, like, let me see if I pick up any red flags. But no, not really.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, because I don't generally see it as a negative unless it's phrased in a certain way.
Exactly. As long as it's not like brazen, like kind of like the red flag where like they're trying to stand out as not one of them kind of deal. Yeah.
What would that seem like to you? Like what would seem like them trying to seem like they're not one of the chasers?
It's definitely probably like the obsession with talking about it. For example, like one time I went out on a date with a chaser, and surprisingly enough, I found out during he was also DL, which like I have on my profile, like not into DL. I'm not dealing with like any like hiding stuff, and so it was not really a date. It was more like let's chill at your place and smoke because like I'm really like
I was one of those. I was gonna say, sis, how did you go on a date and he's on the down low? How did that work?
No, right. No, yeah. This one was more like let's hang out and chill. Let's see if we vibe because like we both were really into the same video game, like Dead by Daylight or whatever. And like we're like, okay, let's see. We're like just gonna hang out, smoke, and then see if we vibe, right? And so I go over to his place, and I don't remember at the moment, but I remember I kept in the back of my mind that he had mentioned something about not being a chaser, but only once. And so I was like, oh, okay, like. Okay, maybe he's another good dude. And so I go over to his place. The connection is actually pretty good, just mainly because like we were talking about my newfound obsession for weed. I don't know if can I say that on here?
Yeah, you can say weed. That's fine.
Okay, only because I don't want to get your account anything with like drugs and substances. I know you.
This is going to live on a podcast, so we can talk more. We can say more things on podcasts.
Oh, okay, for sure. Yeah, so we were just like really bonding over that because he's a like huge stoner, and I'm like getting huge into it with my stoner friends, and the vibe was right. And then he gets really high off that. He's like, I think he took like some like 3 hits just back to back. He told me he was just trying to get like really high, like, and so I had a feeling he was trying to do it to like show me something, or maybe just like start like a new like vibe, like maybe like we're gonna connect or something like that. And so
no, he was trying to get you high so he could fuck you. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
That's the only reason why men want to smoke weed with you privately at inside, is they want to fuck you.
Yes, and that was my first time. And after the whole ordeal, fourth time 2020. I mean, hindsight 2020. Like that's when I knew, like I was like, he like really just wanted to lure me in, just do it and whatever. And thank God we didn't. But like it's just. Yeah, so we started connecting or whatever, and then he starts talking about, I don't remember, I honestly have like some pretty bad memory loss when I get like really stoned, but we weren't talking about anything political. We were just, he was playing a video game and I was watching him and we were like chilling, and then he starts talking about racism and being seen as a racist, and I was like, Jesus
And
Christ.
wait, was this before or after you fucked him?
Oh no, we didn't. We were getting a little touchy feely, but we never did anything. We were just like being like really like, yeah, that sort of like touchy feely, like, oh, you know how it is, you know.
Because I was gonna say,
No, but
like, girl, I hope you didn't fuck him after he said he was accused of being a racist. You know.
oh hell no, 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 no. Oh my gosh, no, just like exactly the way you worded it. Like, there's no way you're gonna be pleasuring any man's penis with like these like nasty like thoughts in their head with like their disrespectful ideas of us in their head. No way.
Yeah.
But sorry, where were we going? Oh yeah, so he starts talking about how like he's perceived as a racist, and so I was like really curious. I was like, there's no reason for you to like be like why would someone? There's clearly something going on if he's like being perceived as a racist and telling me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because not many people get called out for that unless they are doing some shady shit. And so
Yeah.
I kind of like expect I try to get him to feel more like why what are you talking about? Why is this something that's going on with you? And then I don't think he told me a specific story, but he just starts talking about how people are all the same. Some people just don't get that. And then I started realizing he was going the route where like he's like he kind of like gave me like 40-year-old man vibes with his ideas. Like I guess maybe like his dad like probably ingrained some crazy thing into him, but like it's just the idea where these racists think that Black people are trying to like hold some supremacy over white people just because there's a movement for rights, like social justice rights right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that whole thing that's going on in this era right now like off-puts these racists who probably were a part of white supremacy back then and see this like social justice movement as like an attempt for like, you know, maybe like Black supremacy, something like that. Maybe they like he was the type of man to interpret Black power as like
so
you know, just like a
I don't know what is your racial background? We haven't established that.
Oh, I'm Mexican, like 100%.
Okay, so after this whole weed meetup, you blocked him immediately after he left, right?
No, I did not. I kind of wanted to go off on him.
Sis,
like
reserve your energy.
Cathartic, honestly.
Oof, you gotta reserve your energy. It's not even worth it. Just, you know.
It's
Well,
not.
first of all, what you
You're
should have
right.
done is gotten a bit more of his weed. And then, oh my God, I have to go to sleep.
I got a good amount of that, though. I definitely got a good amount of that, though.
Okay, well, girls, as long as you got the weed, okay?
Right.
As long as you got something from it. If you're gonna listen to a man,
yeah,
he's gonna do all this, you know, let me give you all this labor, you know, at least get something, okay? At least get something.
Right. No. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's very strange for me to encounter some DL man, and so I feel like I was tricked into seeing him because I would have not figured, and so. You know,
I mean, sis, I would have told you. So I have a feeling that this call-in show is going to be a lot of me telling y'all, you know, don't do what I've done. I have a rule with men where I don't invite them to my private home until they've demonstrated to me several times, actually, that they're comfortable being out and about with me. You know, I don't even believe in that. I don't believe in like, oh, first of all, this is a strange man, you know, who I'm giving him my address, you know, like,
yeah,
like it's not smart.
That's a little,
huh?
Right. Yeah, that's a little crazy. Unfortunately, I don't have a place of my own, so I'm never having anyone over. But yeah, that is a little crazy.
Okay. So you went over to his place, which is still dangerous because it's his environment, and you know.
Yeah, we're not all using our brain all the time, unfortunately.
You know, but I'm letting you know so that in the future, you know,
thank you
get some ideas because sis, that was, you know, that was a sign. It's good that you can talk about video games, but you know, at the end of the day, womp womp, you know.
By the way, I just came back to my computer and realized that I think you asked for my race, and I said Mexican. I guess I'm mestizo. I'm like my dad was like really indigenous from Central America, and my mom is like Spanish Mexican kind of. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm mestizo. By the way.
Yeah, get the chat together because they're coming for you. There's-
No, I didn't mean it that way. I swear, I was just like, I'm like in an anxious panic right now.
they're saying she's white. She's white. She's German. That's what they're
No,
saying.
oh my gosh, no.
Well, I appreciate you for calling in and giving me your true tea. I'm going to take another call, but thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you so
perspective.
much. I love talking with you.
All right. Bye-bye. Child, these conversations are going to be me like being like, bitch, why did you do that? Why did you trip and fall on a dick? Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Okay. All right. Taking more calls. We've got 12 people on the line. If you are a trans attracted man, I'd love to hear from you. So, yeah. Anyway, next caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Who am I speaking to and what is your true tea?
Hi, I'm Maxwell. I'm, a guy, and I am bisexual, trans attracted.
Is this the same Maxwell who called in the other day?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So this is Maxwell Inc., right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So share
So
your true tea with us.
I was kind of like a little disturbed by the title when I first saw it. It kind of threw me off guard. I was like, what? Like, I was kind of like, I had a hard time sitting with it because I was just like, what's the point? Like, I was like, okay, like, let's say they would DL men are cowards. Like, I was like, so what? Like, I don't know. I had a really like visceral reaction to it, and then I had to sit down and I had to think about my own experiences, and I was just like, oh, oops, yeah. Maybe there's more to this than I thought. Because for me, it's interesting because I am bi and I am attracted to like trans women and trans men, and I'm also attracted to cis people. I've had a lot of interactions with like DL cis men. So it's like I've kind of experienced it from all sides, but obviously not from the point of being a trans woman.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little different for men dealing with like the other DL men because I think there's this level of I don't know. Like I'm probably about to say something a little ignorant, but I feel like the way that men operate is a little like. I feel like men can compartmentalize a bit more in the sense of, I'm meeting up and I'm gonna fuck you, and it's just gonna be that, and I don't really care that you don't want to date me. Like I've very much lived in I have had periods of. I mean, I'm only 20, but I have had periods of my life where it's like, I don't really care that you don't want to take me out. I don't care that we're sneaking around. I don't care that we're meeting like your storage. I don't care. I've had to change the way that I move around the men because I started being active when I was 17, and I made that decision because I knew that I liked older people, but I also knew that like, okay, let me wait until I'm like legal in my state. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But like when I started, I interacted with a lot of like men who were like older, but actually really shady. And I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations where I'm like, oh, face palm, like, why did I do that? And the biggest reason why I had to change the way that I moved around DL men, because number one, it's dangerous. Like I could be in danger. And number two, a lot of these men just like aren't honest like about things. Like I think I had a health scare once. There was this time where I met up with a guy in a location, and after we were done, because I drove myself. After we were done, he was like, "Yeah, blah 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 blah. I gotta go because my wife's waiting." I was like, "Wife? Wait, what? Hold on, pause." And I sat there and I was like, "Wait a minute." Most men on these apps who are over 40, who can't meet you in like a regular normal place, they're probably DL and or married. And I'm like, And I'm just like, and that was another reason why I was just like, I gotta change the way I move because it's like danger, danger. Like I can't have like women calling me like, oh, like you know, real with my husband. That's like crazy. Like I can't be out here doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in terms of like just like safety overall, I think that we put, as queer people, we put ourselves in a lot of dangerous situations, not because we want to. I don't think anybody wants to be in these dangerous situations, but I think a lot of it is like desperation because we don't have a lot of options.
I
Especially
think
like when
that's
you're
the
young, you don't
thought.
have
I
a
think
lot.
I think people think that, but I think that that's a trap that sometimes people put themselves in. Like it's interesting to me to listen to people give excuses for why they still engage with DL men. Because to me, um, you know, there's really no reason to. Um, you know, so not no real reason. When I hear it, it sounds a bit like, people being insecure and not wanting to accept that they deserve more and they deserve better. Because that's just the vibe I get. Because it's like they assume that this man who's married and doesn't want to take me anywhere. That is like the apex of all types of relationships. Um, I'm curious what you mean when you say you've changed the way you move around DL men, because I don't have a reason to move with them at all unless, they're paying me for advice.
Right.
you know.
Well, what I meant by that is, well, number one, I don't meet men in strange places anymore. I don't go to
Mhm.
storage lockers. I don't hide behind. I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. Number
Mhm.
one. Number two, I'm very what's the word? Diligent. Yeah, I'm very diligent about making sure the person I'm talking to isn't partnered or married or anything. Like
Mhm.
I'm not doing that. Like I make it a point to not invite strangers to my house. Dangerous. Like I shouldn't do that. Um, there was also a breaking point. I guess recently, a couple months ago, where I was like, I don't want to invite people over to my house, but it's like I don't want to like sneak out of my house to middle of the night and go drive some weird strange place. So I had the really stupid idea of like, oh, maybe like someone should pick me up. Like, maybe I should be picked up by somebody. And I
Mhm.
did it, and I arranged for the thing, and I couldn't get in the car. like I like he was talking to me, and he was like, so how just to be a little graphic, he was like, well, how big are you? I lied, and I was like, 1 inch. And he was like, oh no, he got mad, and he like threw me away. So I
Mhm.
was just like, I'm so scared, I can't do that.
But
I was
you
like,
were
because I was just
still
like,
like kind of entertaining this sort of idea, though.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like I just feel like the reality of the danger hit me when I was there. It was just like, what
Mm.
the fuck am I doing? Like, this is crazy. And
Mhm.
I guess like, and I mean, I move a little differently on trans people because I think it's because like, I am on the internet a lot. And I see so many people have trans experiences. I know a lot of people are like, of course, sort of like that guy earlier. It's like, that's all made up, but that's all in your head. I mean, like, it is. But at the same time, I don't think it's like because we have the actual experiences of being chasers or being people who are just like bad people. I think some of it comes from a place of like I see trans women have all of these bad interactions, and I don't want to have that interaction. And I have that with trans women, have that with trans men, I have that with cis women, like on these apps. Like I would never, I don't like message trans women on Grindr. I don't do that
Mhm.
because I'm so like scared of like saying the wrong thing or whatever. And
Mm.
it's not even so much that it's just like because I know just like don't be an asshole. But like but like we said earlier, Grindr's that place where it's like you go and you just want to like do the thing and be done with it. But
I mean, well, that's
I
kind of
don't.
so with that caller. I think what he was not wanting to just say is that he wanted to just fuck and wanted to express
Mm-hmm,
that to a trans woman in a way that wasn't disrespectful. Um,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know, like, I don't think that's particularly hard, but I'm also not a man who engages with women, so I don't fucking
You
know.
know,
But like,
but it's not that it's like hard. It's just that like as a man in today's society, like the ones who aren't like actively being trying to be pieces of shit, like you try to like move around women in a way that's like, let me make sure I'm just like not doing the wrong thing. And even if you're not, and even if you're doing all of the right things, sometimes in the back of your head you wonder like, did I say this? Or like, did I come off this way?
See,
You
but this
know?
shit drives me crazy because men will talk about how like we can't even say anything to women these days. And I'm like, what the fuck? We've all been talking about harassment and abuse, not people saying hello to us. You know?
I mean, I know, and I get that, and I know, obviously, I don't do that, but at the same time, there's just like this anxiety there, and you can say that, like, okay, you just need to work on that yourself, and you're probably right, but but even like being like forgetting people on the internet and their experiences, just like people in like my real life, like dealing with women in real life, it's like, you know, they have all of these really, shitty experiences with men, and they go on these days, blah, 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 blah. So, but then on top of that, even the way that like my bisexuality works, right? With a man, I can just look at a man and be like, oh, this, that, blah, 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 wham, bam, thank you, man. But with a woman, I like, for me to be attracted to a woman, I normally have to like talk to them and like blah 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 blah, get to know them a little bit, and then go on a date, So I feel like even the way that my bisexuality is formed around like my attractiveness to women, it's like I I go out of my way to make sure that there is like a connection there, so everyone feels like, okay, we're going somewhere, we're getting something out of it. Because even like earlier in my life, like I would never like go up to a woman and just like start flirting, blah 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 blah, blah, because I'm just like, I don't want that weird interaction where I bomb, but then I look weird, and it's just like, eh.
Well, but that happens in dating, It's I think the miscommunication here is that I think some men don't understand that women can tell the difference between somebody harassing them and somebody being clumsy and just not flirting well. Like sometimes these conversations annoy me because it really sounds like men just like straight up just don't know how to not be gross, you know?
I
Like
mean,
that's
I
what it
feel like
sounds
we
like.
know how to
Like
not
that's
be
why I kept
gross.
saying, so what are you saying to these women? Because I don't know why hi, hello, how are you is like a complicated, scary thing to say that you would think would be offensive to other people. If you said hi, hello, how are you? Nice tits, how big is your dick? Yeah, but that it's so easy to
I mean,
not
I'm not
say
saying I'm
that,
not saying that.
you know?
I think, but for me specifically, just to give you some specifics. For me, it's not like saying hi, hello, how are you? Because you can say that to a stranger on the street. Okay, that's not a problem. I feel like the problem for me specifically, I'm not speaking for any other men, but for me specifically, the anxiety comes from just like taking it to that next step of like, okay, we've gotten past the pleasantries, we've talked a little bit. Like, let me approach flirting. Let me like approach like giving a compliment, when he approached like, that sort of thing. And I think like that anxiety is mixed, because I'm like not wanting to say the wrong thing, but also that anxiety of just like my past experiences with women, because because like adding on top of like the just being a man talking to women, there's also the me not being the straight thing, and a lot of like especially cis women, not really a thing that they're into. And I kind of have a hard time like knowing exactly when to disclose that. Like, do I disclose like immediately, like, hi, my name is Maxwell and I'm bisexual, or is it like I wait until we have a
Yeah, why not?
conversation?
Why not say hi, my name is Maxwell, I'm bisexual, that's who I am, and if you're interested, that's it's not changing. So hi. I don't get it. I just I don't understand. I probably never will. But
I'm glad you don't have to have that experience. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just
yeah.
it's really tough. But like on the flip side, like trans men, I move around trans men to like the same way I would move around like cis men.
Mhm. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm gonna jump onto another caller because we've got 10 more and we've already been here for an hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna jump on another call, but thank you so much for calling in and giving me your true tea, Maxwell.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. All right. So I still don't know who's in line, but I'm going to once again encourage men who are attracted to trans women but not open about their attraction to trans women to call in. Um, People just in general who are attracted to trans people but aren't open about their attraction to call in. That would be nice. Um, yeah. Anyway, next caller. Hello. Hello.
Trying a different mic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Is that better though?
I can hear you. Yes. Who am I speaking to and what is your true tea?
My name is Shen. I think I want to go by.
Okay.
I'm really, really, really deeply closeted, non-binary, and what did you ask? I'm sorry, my brain's broken.
I asked what your true tea is on this topic.
Oh my goodness, this is Kat. Hi, Kat. You're a cool cat. I'm not. That's not all I have to say. So the last person that you talked to, I thought was very, very insightful, and very bright. There were a few things that they said that really stuck out to me. Saying that like trans women sort of get this wham bam, thank you, ma'am. That was the words used, but that cis women don't. I think that like that's what objectification means, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a very educated feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it usually refers to, women just being narrowed down to operating as objects. So yeah, I guess that is a form
if you're
of
being
objectification.
used as a toy.
Yeah.
And then tossed out. But the thing is, cis women are the old toys. So with trans women, it's like they're being treated like novel toys.
Novel toys that they're afraid of actually knowing knowing people are playing with it.
Oh yeah. Can't let anyone know. I mean, like that's where the analogy stops being useful, maybe.
Well, it's like a guy who
and
has a
also
really embarrassing hobby, that he doesn't want to share with his friends. It's like, oh, I build model boats, and that's like
tank
embarrassing
engine.
and unmasculine to some men. So I guess I love just taking a metaphor and beating it into the ground. It works. I think it works.
Right? Yeah. We horses or something. I don't know. But also the point that like cis women don't know what they're into, and you've talked about like running into a specific like genre of cis woman at Munches, who is bisexual, and like kind of, But I think that's really a thing because like cis women get this treatment when they're children. That I've experienced this where you get treated as like very delicate and special and like a finite resource, but also like this very innocent purity thing that's just thrown on you. And like trans women still have to deal with the bad parts of purity culture, but you don't get any of the benefit from like presumed innocence. You're presumed perverted.
Yeah. The thing that this is making me think of is a lot of the men I've spoken to, they actually digest trans women as inherently more confident than cis women and inherently more open-minded than cis women. And I think that comes from just the way that trans women have been presented to them, just in general. But I think it also comes from, they are sort of making this, a lot of these men are limiting trans women to sexual objects because they can't imagine them serving any other purpose. That's just what I've observed from these men, and why it's often so upsetting to interact with them, because their conception of trans women is literally that they exist to satisfy them. So and
that's like really screwed up.
And it's
I'm listening.
And it's like an extension of how, they look at all women, is they're there to satisfy and entertain you. And, isn't that so validating that you can do something for him that makes him happy and all this stuff. Like, but it's different because, like I said to that caller, I don't agree that men don't do this to cis women, because they absolutely fucking do.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we're, you mentioned munches, even when I'm thinking about like my community of folks that I know, like I've watched men do
Mhm.
this to cis women, just lie, like
Mhm.
flat out, just like make something up, pretend to be
Yep.
interested in the same things as they're interested in, like just to sort of
Yeah.
just to fuck them once, and then
Ugh.
avoid them. It's not a trans specific. It's it's, and that's often the complication with the chaser conversation, because a lot of
There's just
people.
all these assumptions, yeah, and that's
Hmm.
why they're chasing. It's because of the
Hmm.
assumptions. I do think that trans women are more open-minded, though. Like you said that, and then you discredited it. But I think there is some validity to that. The same way, based on my experiences, I've had similar experiences that you've had with bi men being more open than
Hmm.
men who are not bi or pan.
Hmm.
And I generally have felt more comfortable with them because they've appreciated all parts of me, and I don't have to adjust. I don't have to pretend to be a woman for his family.
Hmm.
But I do that for his family because
Yeah.
I have problems with myself, and I haven't
Hmm.
dealt with that. You know how sometimes you're like, I don't know, you've said at certain times, like, I don't know how I feel about the non-binary thing. Like, I feel that way about it, and I am non-binary, so like, it's been really helpful. And yeah, but what you were saying about it is cowardice and it is insecurity. It is very much both of those things, and I have lost a chance with 3 separate women because of problems I have with myself.
Oh, interesting. So you've been in like 3 trans women?
Yep.
Interesting. So
3
now I'm
wonderful trans women at different times in my life. And I
so
screwed it up every time. I
I'm
had time to reflect. I don't even have the excuse.
well, now I'm really curious about what those situations are, because I have a long list of men who have mistreated me but have remained in contact with me and have kind of
Hmm.
gone through their own sort of personal growth. Like I'm probably going to make a video about this, or a podcast episode about this
Yeah.
at some point, but I had this guy who back in the day, he had flaked on me on a date. Like I fully showed up, was dressed and everything, flaked out on me. And then when I called him and asked why, he said that the reason why he didn't show up is because he realized that our relationship was doomed to fail, because he wanted to have children and I can't give him those children, and da 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 da. And of course
Oh.
that like devastated me back in the day. I'm back when I fucking made a video of me crying about it on my
Yeah, I
YouTube
think I
channel
saw
back when it
that.
happened, because it was like really fucking upsetting. But now,
He was a recurring person, right? That was like a years long.
oh, well, this guy, this was like
Or is that
college, so
somebody
I'm
else?
talking like over a decade
Okay.
ago. But this guy recently came out to his family and friends as queer and has a rainbow flag
Hmm.
in his profile. And so on his way to like discovering himself, he did some things that um were very much not great.
Real messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
curious if
the
you've.
most real messed up I did. Yeah, so the very first thing I did was the very first time I dated a gal, I dated a cis gal, and I didn't tell anyone about it. I told my mom that I was just very, very close with her, and we were, we were best friends, and no big deal, because I have to be the straight friend because none of my friends are straight. So I didn't take that as like a sign that like, I was like, nah, I'm the token straight friend. This is me. Like, wait a second, you can't be straight and have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we dated for like 6 months, and because I didn't tell anyone that we were dating, because I didn't make it official,
Hmm.
she was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm very interested in going to homecoming with this person, who I've had a crush on since I was in kindergarten." And I kind of looked down at my shoes, and she kind of looked at me like, "You're going to say something, right?"
Like she was
And I was
expecting
like,
you to be
"Oh,
offended or something.
I'll set you up with her, or I'll set you up."
Ah,
They're both cis.
wow.
I just can't talk.
Oh, wow. That's I mean, people are all going through their own journey, which is part of why I think this conversation is interesting to me because,
Yeah.
everyone's kind of at their own sort of point, and sometimes
Mhm.
people aren't ready to be out, Like I had years and
Yeah.
years and years of I had years and years and years of, you know, oh god, I'm losing my thought. I lost my thought.
I get you. You'll get
I
it.
I
You had
lost my
years of being in the closet when you didn't want to be because you weren't ready to come out yet.
Well, I mean, I had a couple of years of like, well, when I start to understand myself more, of like not wanting to tell people about it. I mean, fuck, half of my
Mhm.
life has been me compartmentalizing in like a really drastic
Yeah.
way, just so that like I, can sort of kind of be myself, also sort of inch towards who um I would like to be. So that's a messy road. It's often not an easy one. There are indirect
Yeah.
patterns and things. um
Yeah, and I feel like especially when you have multiple closets to come out of, or
mhm,
you have like multiple things that you want to be more open about,
mhm.
or like like the cis women not knowing, or just women not
Yeah,
knowing what they're into, because frankly, like you're saying with the, or like you've said before, women are sort of discouraged to be subjects.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Um.
and also like I was gonna reply to your point about trans women being open minded. My problem with that is that usually when it's men um that are making this assumption,
Yes.
generally speaking, it's about
I don't
sex.
mean sexually and
You
about
know,
kink.
I
I
know
don't
that
mean
you
that.
didn't mean that, but like that's
Yes.
generally what they
That's what
mean.
they mean.
They mean
Yeah.
they mean sex. They mean this person who's transgender is going to be into all of the kinky shit my cis girlfriend or wife is not going to be into. And that can be like a super alienating, like fucked up position to be
Yeah.
in
Well, and it's
because
based on the assumption that
mhm,
you lack value for yourself, and you don't
mhm.
lack
Yeah,
value for yourself.
exactly.
You know your worth. You've
Yeah.
spent a lot of time working on that.
Yeah, and that's why I hate that sort of thing. But I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about your specific experiences with trans women where you sort of sabotage the
Yeah.
relationship because of insecurities.
Yeah. So the first trans woman who I ever dated, I was introduced to by a masculine name, and I did not know that she was trans at all. We made friends because we played RuneScape together. Um, and yeah, we just really hit it off. And I got invited to this group on Skype, and we just played RuneScape every night. And she and I were just talking, and we really liked each other, so we kept talking. And then she told me, "Hey, this is my name, and at least when we're just one on one, I'd prefer you call me by it."
Mm,
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call you by your name."
hmm
You know, it wasn't like a mystery to me. There was a person in front of me saying, "Hey, can you have compassion?" And I still had bad views about gender and sex because
mm,
I hadn't processed my stuff.
ah,
I had internalized stuff, but I was never going to put that on her, right?
hmm
But I
yeah,
kind of did, didn't I? Because I told my sister that I was dating a woman, but I told my
mm,
mom that I was dating a guy with
ah,
the original name that I was, because she was out to her friends, a few of them, but not to her parents.
ah,
So I took it upon myself to do the same thing. And I told myself that was why, but it wasn't.
mm,
It was because I was nervous still about my mom finding out I was dating a gal, even though my mom is completely, like, my family is completely, I am not the person who should be worried about this.
hmm
A trans person, you know, would be welcome at my family reunion, and it wouldn't
yeah.
be, no one would, yeah,
But sometimes it's not
no one would cause
even.
them any trouble.
Sometimes it's just the you don't know if they're going if it's possible that they could feel bad about it, so that's like an excuse to not share. It could go a certain way that you're not expecting it to
Yeah,
go. And yeah, I get why
yeah,
even in that situation where you come from a loving family, where you could still be like, well, what if this is the line? What if this is the
yeah,
line? Because I've known people who
yeah.
they're like pro gay until it's one of their kids. I've known people like that.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I guess maybe, but like, I don't know. It was so obvious, you know? It's like trying to hide a rhinoceros in your kitchen. People are going to know.
Yeah.
You know, they might not say anything, but they know. And then, yeah, but that was in high school. And then when I was in college, I got to go on a date with a very, very nice gal who I'd been friends with since my freshman year, one of the first people to reach out to me at my college. And it was a wonderful date. And I just didn't pursue it because I was scared.
Oh, what were you scared of, though?
I don't know. I should probably really interrogate that feeling, shouldn't I?
It's interesting because like
But
we're kind of getting to the same sort of thing with the first guy. We're like,
yeah,
there's like a thing that you can't quite define, and that was the reason, you know. And I always think that thing is internalized transphobia, you know, that just hasn't been worked out.
I think it might have been.
But it's hard to say that. I think it's hard to just say, "Oh, I'm being transphobic," because I think a lot of people don't want to. You know, it's like the racist conversation. A lot of people don't want to see themselves that way. They don't want to see themselves as somebody who could be transphobic. You know,
I wasn't out as non-binary yet, and I don't know. Maybe part of it was that like I was realizing that was the case. But also part of it was that while I was in the closet about that and dealing with my weird internalized gender stuff, the way I was doing that was, your transition is also about me. It's like, it's not. Someone else's transition says nothing about you.
Yeah.
If they need to do surgeries, they need to do surgeries. If you don't need to do surgeries, you don't need to do surgeries. Your transition is yours. Theirs is theirs. You're fine.
When you say that, like, can you, I'm curious about that feeling. Like, were you trying to also do things with yourself gender wise? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, think about somebody like J.K. Rowling, right? Where she like talks about her feelings about transness, and she says, well, my dad always wanted a son, and if I had been that age when people started knowing that this was a thing, then, well, I might have done that, and I might have regretted it.
Yeah.
And I say, well, I don't know. I think that honestly, you know, you should have more confidence in yourself, J.K. Rowling. Like, your gender identity is solid. And even if it wasn't solid at some point, you're allowed to experiment. Like, the idea that because someone who has a similar gender identity to you wants to transition and you do not, like physically want to do anything differently or even socially transition or whatever, and like you're just like, I heavily identify as a tomboy. You know? Do that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Someone else's thing isn't your thing because someone else, you know, like, this means that I'm this. It does for them. It doesn't for you. It's not a prescriptive thing for you. It's not for you. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Stop making it about you. That's like the transphobic thing. That's what they keep doing. But the last gal who I absolutely lost my shot with, I was past all the weird gender stuff. But then I was like, oh, wait, you're poly? Oh, no, I don't know if I have the emotional maturity to handle that.
Well, hey, but that's good to know. That's good to know ahead of time than to like entertain it.
I know, but I so did.
I
was just an excuse again. I'm just like, but it's not because I don't want to date trans women. It's just because I'm scared of everything.
Yeah, I mean,
scared
it
of
sounds
the
like
world.
it's complex for you, because like, I don't think a person who's monogamous saying no to like if a person rejected me because I was poly, that's their right, you know. I wouldn't feel like that person was transphobic, you know, or anything like that. They'd be transphobic if they were transphobic.
Well, you might think that if they didn't say why.
True. Oh, so you never had
and
a
they
conversation.
just like act like they want to. I wanted to go on a date with her, and then I went on a date with her, and I knew that she was poly before I went on a date with her. There was she didn't do anything wrong. She did everything right. And I was very intimidated.
Wow.
She was much prettier than I will ever be. And she was just so cool. And I just thought, wow, You're awesome. You should date somebody more worth your time.
It's interesting because I've had men express similar
That's
anxiety.
the security. Yeah.
But to me, that always still sounds like an excuse. But you never know what's going on in people's head. I will never understand the "you're so amazing, I can't date you" thing, because I hear it constantly, and it does not track to me.
Well, the real truth of it was I think the poly thing just being a little bit too intimidating for me. But the fact that she was also incredibly beautiful and incredibly bright, and I was like, wow, she's so perfect, And I'm still on. The weird thing is, I'm on good terms with all three of those people.
Oh, that's good. That's good, though. That's good.
Yeah,
to be good
like
terms.
We've talked about it.
Have you talked about it like
we talked about it and reflected on it.
Have you talked about it?
Not
as
with
openly
the last gal there. Yeah. Yeah, the gal I dated in high school. Yeah, we've talked about it so much. So, they identify as non-binary, but privately, I think. But
common.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a closet thing or not, but I don't know. We just sort of fell apart, I guess. That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also high school. That happens with high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would just say, someone else's stuff that he has to figure out with his family, that's not about you. Something that somebody has to figure out about themselves and their weird gender identity stuff that they haven't worked out yet either. Or they're not sure how they feel about this or that. There's a lot of stuff, and it's not you, and it doesn't mean you're worthless, But these are things that can add to that feeling. And I realized when you started talking about what down low means, I was like, I bet all three of these people felt like that because of how I treated them.
Yeah, I mean, and as a trans person, when somebody mistreats you, especially when you're already living in a society that mistreats you because you're trans, it's very hard not to go immediately to, it has to be because I'm trans.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's very, very hard, but that's not always the truth.
It is.
Yeah, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is literally, like you're saying, the insecurities that somebody else has. Yeah, maybe it's related to you being trans, but it's really not about you being trans. It's about their own shit.
Now, that doesn't mean that they deserve extra patience because
no,
of it.
Absolutely
you
not.
need to have your boundaries ultimately.
Yeah, I don't.
Katie, figure out what your boundaries are. We love you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I say, hey,
you know what?
I respect
too.
the fact that men are going through that and that they've got that, I respect that they're going on their own journey. I just don't have the patience for it,
and it would be great if they would talk about it with people, or at least if you are someone who is a guy who is attracted to trans women and you aren't sure how you feel about it, you need to tell her that too.
Yeah.
She deserves to know that too.
Yeah.
So don't be like me. Don't wind up feeling like you're a jerk after the fact. Just don't be a jerk in the first place.
Yeah. And I know that
don't be a jerk.
It's all easier said than done. You were not prepared to have those conversations back in the day. But, people would definitely, I think, appreciate it more if those conversations
we have more resources now, right?
Yeah.
There's more resources. They're more available. More people know what transness is and understand it a little bit better. Yeah. So, use the resources you have, do the best you can, and just be honest in the meantime.
Yeah,
because people can tell.
Yep. I think that's a really good thought to end on. I'm going to jump on another call, but thank you so much for calling in and giving me your perspective as a non-binary person who has also gone through a lot of these feelings and thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for letting me confess my sins without feeling like I was confessing my sins. I was just talking about it, and you're like, "Hey, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt too."
Well, we're just
thank you. That's very respectful.
We're here to just talk about it.
Yeah,
have
it's all about love, right?
That's what it's about.
Hell yeah. True tea. Peace out. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So somebody said that they are here to hear from not from men who are closeted, and me too. Me too. I'm waiting to hear from more closeted men. Um, the of course the complex the complex aspect of that is some of these men are so closeted and so down low that they're not gonna call in. But this is, I think, a pretty safe way to do it when you're not actually on camera or anything like that. So I will say this. I will say this. So I would really love to I would really love to hear from closeted men. So if you are one of those men and you're currently on the line, stay on the line. If you're on the line currently and you think that what you want to say has kind of sort of already been discussed, you know, I appreciate for now at least, hang up and call a bit later. I have to go in like an hour. Well, really more like 40 minutes. I'm supposed to see my partner in an hour and I don't want to be here for 3 hours. So, um everyone's still welcome to call, but I would really like to hear more from men who are on the down low to talk to them a bit more about that. Um and yeah. Anyway, and trans women are invited to call. I went down the list of who can call, and so far we have who we have. That's kind of, yeah. Anyway, let's get another call. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. Who am I speaking to, and what is your true tea?
Oh my God, this feels a little surreal. Give me a second. But I guess, I mean, I'm assuming I don't want to give my name out on the internet, but
You
I'll
can give a
just
fake
say
name.
I'm a gender fluid person.
Okay.
And for me, I guess my question was, it's not completely related. So if you don't really want to answer this question right now, I would totally be okay with just hanging up and moving to the next caller. But
Well, we are trying to stay on topic because I'm short on time.
okay, I'll just throw this one out there and see what you think about it. But my question was, I remember a long time ago you were talking about how men who often like openly expressed their attraction to Black women would often like get into weird like chaser territory. And I'm wondering how, like, what's the difference between that and a man openly identifying with his attraction to trans women, or how would you handle that?
So I think that's a fair question. Again, not exactly relevant to the conversation we're having now, but I will give you a brief answer. Um, but I don't like men who specifically seek out any kind of person. There's a difference between people who are specifically looking for a Black woman, specifically looking for a trans woman, and people who date everyone, and don't care as much. I tend to date the men who date everyone and are open to all different types of folks, versus a person who's very specifically looking for a Black girl or a trans girl. Usually, what I say to those men is that I'm probably going to disappoint you because I will not be the long list of stereotypes that you have in your head, because truly the only reason you could say that you're looking for a Black girl or looking for a trans girl is if you're specifically looking for a stereotype of some sort, or at least your conception of who those people are. And so that really is going to limit you know I men won't get very far with me if that's how they express themselves. If they have to tell me that they love black women, but you ask them about their dating history and they fucked a lot of black girls and they've married a couple of white girls, that they're kind of blowing smoke out their ass. I don't respond positively to men who say they love black women or love trans women. I just respond well to men who say they love women. Period.
Okay.
All inclusive. So
That,
yeah, that answers the question, I think. Like I said, we are short on time, so I am gonna jump on to the next caller, but thank you for calling in with a question.
yeah. It kind of answered it, but I guess the specifics aren't that important.
Yeah,
but
this
thank
is
you
not
anyway.
the best. This is not I have several videos about both topics. You can watch watch. There's a video that I did about Malik Yorba and him coming out as trans attracted, and I did a video about the unicorn hunters that were specifically fetishizing black folks, and also race play. So I've actually done quite a few videos about this topic, and I think I addressed your question in those videos.
Okay. I didn't know about the videos talking about trans attracted. Thanks so much.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. There's too many. There's way too many. Way too many. But all right, I'm going to take another call. Bye. All right, so I got to really reiterate this because I really do love when people want to talk to me, but y'all really have to understand I'm seeing my partner in 54 minutes and I still need to shower and get myself together to do that. So we are short on time. I'm going to try to be way more cognizant of the time. But if you are on the line and so two things, if you're on the line and you feel like your perspective has already been discussed, I would appreciate it if you, if we magically get through a bunch of calls and we can, do more, I'd appreciate it if you held off. Please, 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 please stay on topic. Please stay on topic because you guys have to remember that I have to go through and edit these so that they are digestible to people who would like to hear other people talk about the topic and the things discussed in the podcast. So, I'd still like to get a couple more calls. I would really like to hear from more Downlow men. I'm tempted to just say only Downlow men stay on the line, but we still haven't gotten a lot of perspectives and it's been 2 hours. So, yeah. And thank you for the super chats. I can't see all the ones, but I just saw the one that MC sent me. So thank you so much for that. All right, next caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hey there. Who am I speaking to and what is your true tea?
Hi, my name is Riley. I obviously don't want to take up time from any other callers that are waiting. And I did just want to kind of come on here and say, we'll address the question sort of more directly about if I think being on the down low is cowardly, which to put it short and sweet, I definitely would describe it as cowardice because the definition of cowardice is a lack of bravery, right? And for me personally, I feel like there is something inherently brave about trans women kind of living their life out loud, and they kind of have already demonstrated that bravery without even really meaning to, I guess. And I think for a man to not feel comfortable, because really what he's worried about losing is social capital, like I think you mentioned earlier, like the main thing at stake for a cis straight man, is their social capital. And so for them to be worried about putting that on the line definitely comes off as very cowardly to me, since it's not the same as a trans woman potentially putting her life on the line day in, day out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to keep it, because I know a lot of people have kind of been, of course, getting their true tea, but not directly going at the question, which is it cowardly? And I definitely perceive it as cowardly.
And what is your personal background? We don't know if are you a person who's had experience with down low men?
So not, I mean, I am identified as cis, and so I haven't had traditionally down low men date me, but I'm a Black woman, so and not at all comparing these things, but there have been situations for me where men have been quote unquote down low about their attraction to me in such a way where it's like, okay, your main concern is that yes, you're okay dating me in a non-serious way, but at the end of the day, your parents want you to settle down with a nice white woman kind of a thing. And so they're not very open, not very, they don't talk about meeting parents and friends and things, that sort of situation. So I do feel for these women who are with men who don't feel comfortable loving them out loud, because I can't take off my Blackness. Trans women can't take off their transness. And so it is, I don't know, it's kind of like a slap in the face to be like, well, I'm taking so much risk just being myself, and you don't feel comfortable taking what I think is a much smaller risk typically, even for Black men. Like, yes, there are things that come with that, but at the end of the day, being a cis straight man is so much more comfortable, and you have so much less to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think for me, a lot of it is like them trying to cling to comfort more than anything. Because that's kind of what it is. And it's hard for me not to say, that they're not trying to do that when that's kind of what it is. And, it's interesting. A lot of times when I talk about men being on the down low, I do get comments from Black women, from fat women who also discuss being involved with men who weren't confident about them, who expressed this really intense, like private, fascination with them. But they didn't actually claim them publicly. And that's very, very painful experience to have to be in, to feel like you're not good enough to be claimed, especially when
Exactly.
that a cis white, literally any cis white woman is seen as more valuable and more worthy than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely do not want to take time away from men or trans women who want to speak on this topic. But I did just want to kind of give my 2 cents and like my thoughts on the question.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you calling in and giving us your perspective. Thank you so much for giving us your true tea.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye. All right. That was a cute little quick call, I'm going to repeat again. I want to repeat again. I would like to hear from men who are on the down low. We're not here to attack you. I might maybe a little, but not too much. I'm saying that I don't have a lot of faith. Like, okay, bi men calling into the bi guy show. I guess I should have expected that. DL men calling into this show. I'm not optimistic, but people keep asking me to define DL men. Y'all listen to the podcast. I went over it in this video at the top. I went over it, I've gone over it so many times. There's another True Tea episode about it. Anyway, let me take another call. Hello. Oh, still ringing.
Hello.
Hello. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, I'd like to be addressed as Ava.
Okay. Hey, Ava. What is your true tea? Oh, hello. I don't think we can hear you if you are speaking right now currently.
Hello.
Oh, there you are.
I apologize about that.
That's okay.
So I just have a quick question about some of the ways that I feel about dealing with a down low man. I just recently found out the guy that I'm dealing with is down low, and he's not gay. He's into trans women, and this is the first time that I've ever dealt with a situation like this. And I think the only thing that is triggering for me and or just kind of what I want to express on this topic is if I should, because I don't feel any type of way about his attraction to trans women. I feel a way about him not being able to express that with me before we, yeah. So, and I'm kind of confused if I should even feel that way because again, I don't have an issue. I have an issue with him being down low about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so I'm actually curious, can you give us some context for how you know about his attraction? And I'm assuming that you know about it, but he doesn't know that you know about it, or am I wrong in that?
No, he knows. I'm the type of person, and when I'm dating or in relationships, I like to communicate. So it was a couple of conversations that we had that kind of sparked this conversation. And it was a recent conversation we had, and he didn't really want to go into detail, but he did admit in this conversation that he is attracted to trans women. He doesn't, it's just that he didn't express this until I asked the question, if that makes sense. It wasn't like an open conversation where he just brought it to me. So I feel bad about that as well because I asked, and so I don't, because I'm kind of unsure if I should feel away because it's his story, right? It's his story to tell.
Yeah.
And maybe he wasn't ready to express that with me, but we are dating and we are sexually active. So
yeah. Well, I guess
I
think so. Now I'm curious about. So there are a lot of men who are attracted to trans women, but have never ever been with a trans woman. I think that that's probably more common than not. Is your concern that he is potentially trying to physically be with other trans women, that he has been with them physically in the past, or do we not know that?
So because he didn't want to have that conversation, he kind of ended that conversation. I do not know that. But I feel that there is a possibility that his attraction may be to only trans women based off of sexual interactions we've had.
Interesting.
And
okay.
I think, so I think the only reason why I was able to kind of communicate and ask him certain questions is because I don't necessarily want to date someone who doesn't want me. Like I understand that he doesn't want to come out. He might not want to express that that's actually what he wants, a trans woman versus a cis woman, which is completely fine. I just have a problem with him not being open about it, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think I've got a clearer picture. So there's a few things. What is that, you or me? Very loud ringing.
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, it's okay. It's just very loud. Sorry about that. So I think this gets complicated because we don't know the guy. We don't know what his situation is. So I've read a lot of comments in my comment section that are this exact concern, and for me as a trans woman, that's a really interesting concern because of my experience with most cis men who I've been with, whereas that they very rarely choose to prioritize a trans woman over a cis woman. Most men who are attracted to trans women are attracted to trans women because they're attracted to cis women. And cis women they're more common, you know, a man's more likely to meet a cis woman who he's going to be interested in and connect with. He's also way more likely to have a relationship where he isn't having to, deal with bias because of it. And I get that this is where the insecurity for some folks from some cis women comes. Is he just with me because I'm the most socially acceptable choice, or does he actually want to be with just a trans woman? And you know, and I guess for me, it's interesting to hear this concern, mostly because, you know, I'm not going to get into, I don't know all the sex stuff you guys did that made you feel that he wanted that, but you know, especially when it just comes up in a sexual context, it's probably really unlikely that he even considers trans women romantic options, you know? Like, a lot of men don't. They only process trans women in a sexual way. They only understand them in a sexual context, which I'm not, you know, I'm sure that's not
I'm not a
more.
fan of that either, though.
Can you say that one more time?
I'm sorry. I was just saying I'm not a big fan of that either.
I was gonna
That
say that's
doesn't
not
necessarily fit
better.
right.
That
Yeah.
still sucks. You know, it's still not a good
Yeah.
thing. But that's how a lot of men process. Where like they don't look at a trans. They look at a trans woman and they see a realization of their sexual fantasies, and often a really um dirty sexual fantasy that they don't want to share with anybody. So they're not even processing this as like, oh, I want this to be my girlfriend. It's more like, I want this to be my girlfriend for the evening, which again, not better. But I guess from my perspective, it's interesting to hear cis women express anxiety around this, only because I've been in so many relationships with men who leave me to pursue a relationship with a cis woman. You know, so there's that. Then there's also another aspect of it, which I kind of talked about in my podcast, where there are a lot of men who are attracted to trans women and they don't see, um, you know, trans women as a deviation from their sexuality. It's not so much that it's a secret, it's just not something that they have personally registered as something that um, should be brought up. Now, I'm the sort of person who likes to say everything. I've been
Right.
in relationships where I've kept secrets, and it, you know, it's like a little teeny tiny secret blows up with time. You know, it's that
Mm,
little
mm,
snowball.
mm,
So I personally am a fan of, let's put all of our shit on the table
mm.
before we date, you know. Here's
Right.
some things you might not like about me. You know, I snore sometimes, you know, like it's like just let's talk about that stuff so that like we know what we're signing up for. So you know, with that all being said, and I've said this in my podcast, and I've said it in several other videos, you know, I don't think this is what you're expressing, but you know, if you're uncomfortable, I think that that's valid. If you're not into that, I think that that's valid. I think that,
I have no
but I know you're not.
I have no issue. I have no issue with that. My question is, should I feel uncomfortable, and should I leave or not date this person because they weren't open about it?
Well, I mean, so so that's the thing, is like I almost don't know how to answer that, because
Mm,
um I think that there's a bit of a difference between, we don't, well, we I don't have the full picture. I would leave him, put it this way. This is the scenarios where I would leave him. I would leave him if I caught him actively trying to be with trans women behind my back, cuz to me that's just violation of my body. So, goodbye.
mm,
Um I would leave him if you felt that his, if this is the case, fetishization of trans women is um egregious and discomforting to you. I think that that's a good
mm.
reason. We don't
Okay.
know if this was him concealing it or just not talking about it, you know, which I guess live omission can still be that, but maybe he wasn't lying. Maybe it just wasn't a thing that came up. You know, I put everything on the table, but I know that a lot
Yeah.
of men are not like that, you know, like, and this is
Right.
often my issue with men, where I'm like, let's talk about all of this stuff right now up
Everything.
front, you know,
Right.
and there, and most men, they don't even know, half the time, they don't even really know what they want. So, you know, they
Mm,
can't even tell you all this stuff. I know that there are some men who don't tell their cis female partners because they fear that that would be um, a thing that would get them rejected. You know, which is where I
yeah.
started. You know, I said this in my podcast. That's kind of a big area in which I say that's cowardice, because now you're just
Mm-mm.
afraid to
Yep.
talk to somebody who you're with. I mean, it's it's one thing to like not broadcast it on your dating apps. It's another thing to like
Exactly right.
be with somebody in a long-term relationship and never talk about it, you know?
Right. Yep. Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't even have a straight answer for you. I think you're gonna have some more conversations with him about it, because um, it could literally be from so many different angles. It really could be. It could be
Okay.
him consciously hiding it. It could also be him feeling like it wasn't important enough to mention. It wasn't relevant
Okay.
enough to mention, you know, especially if you guys are in a monogamous relationship where, you know, you haven't talked about you know, going, you know, outside of, you know, seeing people. It might not even be something that he currently even registers as like, you know, a thing that's relevant to what he's currently doing, you know. I'm
Mhm.
fucking I'm poly, so I have my own way that my mind thinks, you know, and the people that I date understand that. But you know, there are some people where they're monogamous and they don't even think about another person, you know.
Right.
So that could be the position that he's in, where he, yeah, has been with or has been attracted to trans women, but that's not even where he is now, you know.
Mm. Okay. All right. I'll have more conversations. Thank you. This has helped a lot.
Yeah, I definitely talk more to him.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much for taking my call.
All right, thank you for calling in. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we've got 8 more calls on the line. I'm just going to jump right into the next one. Hello. Hello. It's still ringing. Hello. Okay. I think this person is not on the call, so I'm gonna hang up on them.
Hello.
Oh, hi. I was literally just about to press the hang up button. How are
Hi.
you?
Oh
Who
my
is
God.
this?
Sorry, you can call me Jean. Sorry. Also, I wanted to say that I'm not sure if I have a friend coming over very soon. I'm not sure when she's gonna be here. So
Okay.
anyway, hi, I've actually spoken to you before, but a long time ago on a chat. But yeah. So so
So what is your
I
true
am
tea?
a trans.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, my true tea. Well, I'm trying to like think if I'm like, I don't want to like waste your time if it's not relevant. So I'm married. I'm a trans woman. I've been with my
okay.
husband for a year, and like his family doesn't know I'm trans.
Mm,
And he's from England, and I have like visited there many times, and like I'm close to all of them. They don't know I'm trans, and sort of like my own. If anything, I feel like it's more my own decision to be
mm-hmm.
for him to like be on the down low, so to speak. So I don't really know if it's a. I was like, is this really relevant? Now I'm like, oh my God, what do
I
you
mean,
think?
it's I think it's a little relevant, you know. It's you're in a situation where you're a trans woman, but you don't want them to know. And so that sort of
Yeah,
puts
because I
them.
don't want.
Go on.
Well, yeah, because I don't. I personally like to. I'm not like stealth. Like my family knows, my friends know. In the States, like people know. I post about it on Facebook and whatever. But
Mhm.
like, it's just so nice and relieving, and I don't feel like you know how people treat you when you're trans, and they like look at you just that kind of way, even if they don't have a problem with trans people, so to speak. They just kind of like, they treat you differently, and I don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
So my
That's
husband and
often
I
why
have
I don't.
both sort of.
Yeah, that's often why I don't share that I'm trans. But I will say that in the situation I was in with my last relationship, where his family didn't know, with the exception of his mom, um, my transness became this weapon to use once portions of his family found out. And I wonder, is your partner prepared for that possibility?
See, I there was like a period of time a couple years ago before COVID, where his family were going to be coming over to the States to like meet my family. And I was so terrified because my family is like, they're okay, but they, misgender me sometimes, dead name me sometimes, da 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 da. And I was just like, oh my God, I think we're gonna have to tell them. And like, because, I'm gonna get outed accidentally, and it's gonna be a whole other thing. But ultimately, a lot of things happened. They didn't end up coming at that time. So yeah, I don't know. His family is super liberal, even by, British standards. um, but it's still one of those things you can never gauge. Like, and I'm so sorry, I don't feel like this is on topic now that I'm talking about it. But it's sort of one of the things you can't really gauge, because you think like there are people, it's like, oh, they're not transphobic and they're fine. But, if their son marries a trans woman, like, okay, like, is that going to be is that the issue? Is that going to be the deal breaker? So yeah, I don't know, but
Are you afraid? Because I remember one of the reasons why I like didn't want people to know was because I was so afraid of how it would make him look. Like I was actively. I mean, I obviously already had a stealth thing that I was doing, but I remember being like, if people
yeah.
knew that he was dating a trans woman, this would just make his life harder. Is that something that goes through your mind?
I think that goes through my mind as well. It's just like I think it would make our lives harder in general, like both of our lives, just more difficult than they are, especially in regards to like his family. They're just so nice, and like I really love them. They super love me, and I feel very, very close to them. And I don't feel any sort of way like, oh my God, I'm keeping this big secret from them or anything, because it's sort of like they're not sucking my dick. They don't have to know. So like that kind of thing. But I do just like, just something like I do want to like kind of preserve this. I guess I want to preserve the kind of really relatively comfortable situation I have with them. If that makes me like, am I a DL trans woman?
I mean, to me, it's like when you're in that position, one of the things that I like to do, and this is relevant to this topic actually, I don't ever want to be in a position where anyone can hold anything like something I can't change about my body over my head.
Yeah.
And so
I wouldn't like, I don't fear like that he would do anything like that. He's like super, like,
anyone,
will
I
never
mean,
give in anything.
anyone,
Anyone.
just anyone, like I dated one way when I was younger. I wouldn't necessarily date that way now, because all it does is it allows for people to have a reason to have a thing that goes against you. It's like stuff I talked about in my my Lil Nas X video. It's like once you actually start embracing yourself, it becomes harder for people to come for you, really. And so I'm not even
Yeah,
saying,
that's true.
obviously you guys are maintaining some sort of comfort and safety, but I would avoid getting to a position where you felt like you had to keep a secret as opposed to weren't having a conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that I think ultimately I do think it would be fine. It's a lot of like trepidation about like the unknown, but like and one day, I haven't like I sort of intend in the future to have a few surgeries or whatever, which are going to probably be like, how am I going to explain like these things away eventually? But so I think there just will be a time when I do just have to say, hey, mom and dad, hey, like, but at the moment, yeah, I sort of just feel like there's a comfortability, which I wanted to say, I do think that in general, down low men are cowards, although I think that word might be like a little harsh. But yeah, I think for them, it's like, yeah, they get to enjoy like a trans woman's presence and experiences, and then like what, they don't want to take any of the heat that comes with it or any issue. So yeah, I mean, you gotta, like, we can't just shut that out and not deal with things because we don't want to. Anyway, so that's my take on that. I know that's not like a new take. I'm sorry, I'm not a DL man.
It's okay.
But
It's okay. I have very little faith that they're calling in, so you're fine.
I know. I tried to get my husband to call in. He's not technically DL. Like, I mean, all my family know. He came here and was like, we were going all over the place when he was in America, and everyone knows I'm, well, not everyone, but most people in my area know I'm trans. But yeah, I was gonna have him call in, but he wouldn't do it. So yeah. Anyway, I'll let you go take another call now. But it was so great to chat with you, and thank you for having my call.
Yeah, thank you for calling in and giving me your true tea.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. So we are down like less than 30 minutes. So I'm going to do something right now. And I want everyone to respect this because this is only going to make my life harder. And I'm not going to do another call-in show. What we're getting here is it. I have to take a shower and get ready to see my boyfriend. So that's what I'm going to have to do. So, and please respect this. I think the chat really, really wants to hear from a down low man. And I think I would like at least one more down low man to contribute. I think, we can have, we can have, more of a well-rounded thing if that happens. So, we got some stuff to work with, but at this point, if you are not a down low man, I would really appreciate if you hung up and did not stay on the line. If you are a down low man, please stay on the line. At this point, if you're not a down low man, I will try to very quickly end the conversation so that I can get the stuff I need for the final version of this. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes. If you're a down low man, stay on the line. If you're not a down low man, please get off the line. And people are asking me, moderate calls. I can't. I can't moderate the calls. There's no way for me to do that. People just call in and they get, in line, and that's kind of how it works. So I'm gonna get up. I'm going to grab myself a little refreshment, and when I come back, if I answer the next call and it's not a down low man, I don't care how much you want to talk to me, I'm probably just going to hang up. And you're just going to have to not take it personally. You're going to have to just not be offended by that. You're going to have to accept that this is the position that I'm in. I've basically got 20 minutes. And that's me not being able to shower. Though I'm sure my boyfriend would probably be okay with that, but I'm not. So I'm going to get up. And when I come back, I only want to hear from DL men. Right now, I'm up. Apparently, there's 6 of them on the line. Okay. If you're not a down low man, hang up. Okay. I'll be right back. I am trying to get better at being more limited with the way that I do this because, it's hard to sometimes get people to stop. Okay, so we've got 4 down low men on the line. If one of these people I answer is not a down low man, I am going to hang up on you. And please don't be offended. Just recognize that I'm trying to get this done. There's no Discord for people who keep asking about Discord. All right, 4 of them. There's 4 of them. All right. I'm going to answer, but if you're not on the down low, I'm hanging up. I'm so dead ass. All right. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Who am I speaking to, and what is your true tea?
Yeah, so I am a Muslim man. I'm Muhammad.
Nice.
And I was a trans woman before.
Mm. So you've been with a trans woman. Was that something that you were on the down low about?
Yeah.
Mm. And why is that? I mean, did you feel like it was a thing that you even needed to advertise about, or is it like tell me about that?
Oh yeah. Well, I prefer not to. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit nervous. I
Oh, it's
prefer
okay.
not. Okay. Yeah, I prefer to keep it a bit private. In my
Hmm.
experience, but I kind of I wanted to talk about like the idea that like um low key men are or low down men are like um cowardly, and
Hmm.
I just kind of disagree.
Ooh, we've got disagreement. Okay, let's talk about it then.
Yeah, well, I think that like I think in many cases, um, like I agree that like it can be uh, definitely like rude, but I think that in many cases like how do I explain this? Well, I think that well I've been interested in this I've in some of like I've been interested in this sort of topic after my
Hmm.
experience and after also like hearing from like trans creators um, such as like ContraPoints and you and uh, like and like I think ultimately that like being a man, a straight man with like a trans woman, I think uh, it makes it makes a man ultimately kind of bear the like the stigma that queer men have to sort of bear, I guess, to some
Hmm.
extent. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, I think that it's so interesting. The first call is tying in so much. So I think that concern is real, but I don't know if it's real in the way you think it is. I mean, yes, people are going to dismiss like gay men, just straight up gay men are not dealing with what you're dealing with. Like your situations are totally
Yeah,
different, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um
of course, of course.
but it does
I'm just
like go on.
no, sorry. I just the why I mentioned that I'm at the start. I mentioned that I'm Muslim.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's the thing with my family. So, um, um, uh, I had to like break up with my girlfriend because my
Ah.
family it was really hard to it was really hard to live with that situation. Um,
So could you could
and
you
I
tell
felt
us the story? Because I think because we don't know what happened between you and this person. So I would love to know what happened and why you had to break up with her and all that sort of thing.
yeah. Well, I don't want to. I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if that's gonna end up in your channel or something. So I don't want to like go into that
Mhm.
deep or something.
Okay.
Just out of like privacy. But it was a situation where after I told my family that after I told my family I was dating her, like I was shamed by pretty much my family. And
Ah.
if you know anything about like Muslim community, especially in Europe, it's very much like, or you know, in Europe or in America, it's very much like it our family or like extended family is very much like a strong tie in the community.
Mm.
And it's yeah, so it's definitely like an issue, or it made me feel kind of rejected, you know.
Mm. And so you're sort of afraid of that rejection, which is why you don't broadcast your attraction to trans women. And you've experienced it.
Yeah,
You've experienced it like directly.
yeah.
So I'm so curious. So you said you disagreed with me describing it as cowardice, and I think that so what you've just described, that whole experience, that's obviously incredibly unpleasant. Being disowned from your family, or not disowned, but just put down by the people who you care about a lot. That's really, rough and very, very scary. Um, for me, I would see it as cowardly because I've experienced that and then some. Um, and I very firmly have accepted that I'm just going to exist in that way where people are going to not like me, but I need to be honest with myself. And something that I've noticed with a lot of men that I've attempted to date in the past, there's a reason why I often will date older men, is because what happens with a lot of men is they deal with the shit that they deal with when they're young men and being told that they need to date a certain type of person, and then they eventually get to a point in their life where they're like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to date who I want because that's what makes me happy. And sometimes when they get to that point in their life, they're like 50, you know? Um, and,
Yeah.
and it might be too late. Um, so I'm curious why, um, you disagree with it being described as cowardice, and I'm curious if you ever think you'll be a person who says, okay, this is me and who cares. Because I definitely understand, well, not probably the way that you would, but I understand coming from a Muslim background, a conservative Muslim background, why being open would come with real scary stuff. That's why I personally don't even buy into all of the narratives around coming out, because coming out is scary for a lot of people. Coming out is scary. And I don't think it's cowardice to want to keep yourself safe. But I do question, you ended a relationship that I'm assuming made you happy because of your family's disapproval. So I'm very curious if that's a pattern you're going to continue to make, or are you trying to work past that? Like I just would love to hear more from
Well,
your perspective.
I think I get what you're saying about especially about like like kind of going for what feels good and not really sort of caring about what other people think. I probably also think that if this sort of like cycle, so to speak, was to like end, it would
Mhm.
probably have to be like men who have to sort of step in and sort of change it. And I
Mhm.
think ultimately, I feel a lot of guilt because I think that I wasn't able to, um, I wasn't able to, be like a man who kind of didn't care,
Yeah.
um, uh, uh, yeah, and I feel like I don't know how to describe it, but I think it's like it's a societal issue, and I think you have to sort of also step in those men's shoes, even if I'm not saying that you have to sort of be empathetic, but I think you have to sort of also understand the sort of issues that they face.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that it's complex, cuz like I've dealt with men in your position who have had a lot of hesitancy, mostly because they're family. Um and it puts me into a position where now I have this burden of, um you know now I have to sort of care about the fact that your family rejects you, which because of me being trans, which only makes me feel like I'm this disgusting thing that should never be claimed, which obviously isn't healthy for me, you know. And I absolutely agree that men need to be more open about it. I don't even know what that would look like, though, to be honest with you. That's part of why we're having the conversation. I don't even know what that would fucking look like, you know? Would that look like there being a new I know people are trying to make trans amorous a thing. Would that be the new step? Like, what would that look like? And do men who like trans women even need resources to connect with each other or to feel some proximity to the queer community? I don't fucking know. I don't
Well,
fucking
well, I
know.
think yeah. So I think the problem is it's not like the problem. This problem is not like there in isolation with the general sort of toxic, I think, feelings that men feel.
Mm-hmm.
I personally felt that that like um, generally like men and I in general is just not able to express like emotions
Mm.
and definitely sort of discouraged from being vulnerable. And I think it's just hard to be is sort of in that position. I think also part of why men don't talk to their trans partners probably and openly is from that. I think I
Mm.
don't, if you're a man, I think you relate to this that you don't like there is such a shame so deep that you don't really talk about the issue. You just
Mm.
and I'm working on that, but
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're working on that. That's because to me, like some of my the best men that I connect with are men who have like acknowledged that they have that thing, worked really hard to address that thing, and are still acknowledging that they have growth to grow, they have room to grow, um, but sort of acknowledge, that they've been encouraged all their life not to feel and express their emotions, but that they should. Because I guess where it comes, I mentioned this in my podcast, but I like sometimes when I talk to these men who are closeted slash on the down low about their attraction to trans women, it's a little sad because it's like they've made this decision not to um be honest with the people in their lives about who they like, what they like. It would drive me crazy to try to keep something secret, like that. To me, that's not a healthy way for me to live. um even when we talk about me being stealth, that still wasn't healthy. It might have been safer, but it wasn't healthy for me to hide aspects of who I was. um so yeah, I mean,
yeah.
sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying that like I definitely agree with you. Um, I guess from my background, like I come
Yeah.
from originally, like my parents come from a country where if you're trans, you're like murdered, or
Hmm.
it's very bad in terms of LGBT rights. So I like they don't really understand what um they understand that, and my greater family and like my communities, it's very different
Hmm.
sort of community. And I just I think that in general like it's such a I think such a complex issue,
Hmm.
and definitely doesn't give men right to be sort of transphobic or be treat their
Yeah.
partners badly. I think that's definitely not right. But I also think that that I think you have to whether I think like if you were to genuinely sort of approach a problem intending to fix it, like you should be sort of a bit empathetic, maybe a tricky word, but maybe a bit like willing to understand the man's perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
so I think because my experiences with men on the down low are so much more than just mild, concerns about shame. I think that I have a hard time with that, only because um most of the time, like, yes, like I said, I understand men are not often given trans women as romantic options. Men do deal with being seen in a certain way if people know that they're with trans women. But for me, I have such, I guess, and this is probably because of my gender, I have such a hard time processing my way of navigating through the world and being in a position where you're a fucking dude, where you're a cis man, in America, even if you're of other marginalized things, and you're still like afraid to just say, "Hey, I love this person." I guess it's like very hard for me to process that, you know. Like I
Yeah.
and it's just because my experiences with men on the down low have been so bad. It's been way more, because that's the thing, when men are insecure in that way, it becomes so much more than just, you know I'm we can't be seen with each other for this reason. It gets a lot of times it turns really shitty. And so, I want to be empathetic to men who are trying to grow, but I also don't want to ignore that there are quite a few men who really, really get off on this power imbalance that they have over trans women. They really get off on that. And that's part of their attraction, is they're doing this taboo forbidden thing that no one can know about. And a lot of times when trans women are killed, they're killed by their intimate partners, people who are actively having sex with them, but are afraid of other people knowing about it, killing the people that they, were intimate with out of shame, and it's so hard for me to know that and then feel like I need to baby men who are basically putting me in a position where um I can't engage with them and also say that I love myself. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hard for me to, I mean, I can sit here, like, for example, if I were your girlfriend and you told me that you left me because you had to break up with me because of your family. First of all, I would be fucking devastated, because the first thing I'd be thinking is, yeah, okay, I understand that your family has their positions, but if you love me and you care about me, um why doesn't your love for me have that much, why isn't your love for me great enough to accept that your family is going to have issues with me and work through that, so that we could get to, until we maybe get to a point where it's different. You know what I mean? Because that happens a lot with people when they date someone new or somebody different, is the family initially hates it, actively discourages it, then eventually accepts it because, well, they love you, because your relationship
yeah,
with your parents is your relationship with your parents. When I'm in a position where now I have to think about how much shame I bring you and your family because of who I am, this thing I can't change, like that, you know, that fucking
yeah,
hurts.
yeah,
It cuts very
yeah,
deeply, you know?
yeah. I think I don't want to go into my experience because I probably probably cry or something,
Oh, I'm so
um,
sorry.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with what you said. Yeah,
Well, it's okay if you don't too. It's totally okay if you don't too. I mean, I think the complication of this conversation is, I don't even know how are we fostering community with these men, and should and do we need to foster community for these men? Because, like I
well,
said in my podcast, like, I know to a lot of cis folks who are completely outside of this conversation, I sound completely insane acknowledging that men like me, because so many men actively hide the fact that they like trans women. They will actively deny the fact that they've had exes who are transgender, you know? And it's like, it just puts us in a position where, we sound like we're making it up. we sound like we're making it up. And I think that'd be less of a thing if we normalize the way that it's normalized in my life, the fact that trans women can be in relationships and, can have very similar experiences to every other woman in this world. There's difference, but there's lots of similarities, and more similar than different, I'd say. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I'm curious what you
Well,
think about that.
yeah, yeah, I think that like generally, like it stems from my experience, it stems from insecurity, and
Hmm.
I definitely also agree like that a sense of community is definitely should be encouraged. I think one thing I sort of I guess like don't see as prevalent in men in general or men's behaviors, they don't tend to form communities or
Hmm.
supportive, at least communities in the
Yeah.
way women do.
Hmm.
And that I think definitely leads to like a lot of behaviors that are very interlinked to things that ultimately lead to trans women, being subject to like violence or yeah.
Yeah, we're just like I said in previous call-in shows, we don't got all the answers, but we're trying. We're trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on that note, I'm gonna thank you for calling in. Thank you for sharing your story. I know
Okay.
it was really hard. Thank you for being one of the few DL men who came and had a conversation with me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, so I actually only have 2 more calls on the line. I told my boyfriend that I am going to be a bit late because of this, but um, I'm hoping that the 2 men, that there are 2 DL men online, because if both of you guys are DL men and we have good conversations, I think we'll be pretty good for the ultimate edit of this. But if you're not a DL man, hang the fuck up. Hang up, okay? I will still be hanging up on you if we've got. Like I said, I got only these 2 calls, but if one of y'all isn't, one of y'all isn't a DL man, I'm gonna fucking throw something that doesn't damage my apartment. Ooh, and thank you, Saint Shenanigans. Oh, they've updated this app so I can see when I get super chats better. All right, I'll take another call. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Who am I speaking to?
Well, I'm Mike. So basically, what I wanted to talk about is referring to Downlow men because I just went through this process myself in terms of, not in terms of like being like dealing with the Downlow men, but being a Downlow man myself. So
Okay.
I'm so
Now,
my experience.
is this relevant to trans women?
I would say it can be, but like it's mostly with other men. Does it have to be specific to trans women?
Okay. Well, I really would like to hear from Downlow men who have relationships with trans women. I'm sorry that I took your call so late.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, I'd like one more call about that. Not that your perspective isn't valid, but it is. But
no problem.
I'm short on time.
Okay, no problem. Bye.
So bye. Oof, I ended that and I felt so bad for ending it. Okay, but yes, hopefully the next caller is relevant to the conversation. But I'm sorry about that, Mike. Maybe next time. All right, so one more, and then I'm gonna go. Hello. Oop, hello. Oh no. Maybe this person's rummaging for a mic right now. Oh no. Does the person not? Is anybody there? I'm not here. Yeah, super DL. So down low that like they're not even on the phone. Oh, I feel bad for hanging up on Mike now. All right, well, I'm gonna hang up now unless somebody says something. All right. Well, text only. So DL that it says text only. All right, so rapid session. If you're a Downlow man, call in within the next minute. I'm gonna go in the other room and start my bat. Rapid fire. If you're, we got one, and if this isn't a Downlow man, I'm just gonna leave. If this is not a Downlow man, we're hanging up. Because listen, y'all, I have to, I'm seeing my man tonight. We're making dinner. We're making Pad See You. Oh, did he text me? Actually, let me check if he texted me. Oh, okay, he did not. Okay. Ah! Okay, I accidentally hung up on this person really fast. I was really upset, but it didn't hang up. Hello?
Hello.
Hi there. Who am I speaking to?
Hey. So, you can call me Emiliano.
Okay. What is it Emiliano?
Emiliano, yeah.
Emiliano. Oh, cool. Like Emilio.
Yeah, but a little extra flavor in there, yeah.
Okay. It's like Italian.
I've gotten that a lot. I am very Mexican, but yeah.
Oh, it's the romantic language thing.
Yeah, it's what, we share a strong connection, us and the Italians. We like a lot, like big flavors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm calling in discussion about like the whole Downlow thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I am dating a trans woman. We've been dating for, I would say at this point, like 2.5 years.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, I absolutely adore her. Love her. My friends know, but my friends are also, I have like a somewhat like small group of friends
Mm-hmm.
in, bigger city.
Nice. So they're more progressive.
They're definitely more progressive. They're a lot cooler, more radical type
Mm-hmm.
folks. But I also have like a very, very large, and this probably goes into it, Mexican family.
Ah. Okay.
And they do not know.
Ah.
To the point where I deflect a lot of conversations amongst my family.
Oh, really? Like what kind of conversations?
Like I am one of the oldest boys.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, a big pressure to be like, hey, someone's that family coming.
Mm. Yeah, because you're the first one.
About it. Yeah, I'm not the first, but I'm the first who of the families that is liked.
Mm.
So there's like a big kind of hope.
They're actively encouraging you specifically to have children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I keep that the way it is, partially because like I remember when I was in like high school, I thought I had a pretty good relationship with my mom. I was like, yo, hey, I have like queer feelings. Immediately she put me in therapy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. And like it was a couple years ago. Like that was like not in high school, but like it's been a long time since high school.
Mm.
She's like known in the background, but we don't talk about it.
So it's like one of those. Are you just gotten to this point where you're just like, you know what? This is just a topic that we're not going to discuss. I mean, it's like that with my dad and religion. It's like, yeah, we're just not discussing this.
Yeah, I mean that's how it pretty much is with like my like immediate family. They like kind of know I am queer, but it is never discussed. It is never talked about. Of what it used to be of like, yo, I would date somebody and it's like, hey, come meet my family. Like, come have dinner with us. Come spend time with us. There was like a definitive point when I moved out when that just stopped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like, with this woman I'm dating, I love her with all my heart, but there's gotten to a certain point where I like the tear I feel. It's like, I don't want to bring you around my family. Not because I'm embarrassed by you. It's just like, I almost don't want to subject you to this. Because it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight. And right now, because of COVID and everything that went down, I ended up having to move back in with my family.
Oh, wow. So she can't even come over to see you.
Right. I was just like, hey, fam, I am going for a few days to visit friends.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked.
And you got to say friend too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And it's like, she's like, I absolutely love her. I absolutely adore her.
Mm-hmm.
But like, she lives with her mom, but her mom's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know her mom, like we're on pretty good relationships. We talk about cool like cooking techniques and stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I've like met her like cool aunt and uncle who like know and are cool with her transition,
Mm-hmm.
and like gotten to know them very well.
Mm.
And like, I would say like I constantly feel bad about that because like I'm from a very conservative area,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a little bit of like I almost want to, if I am gonna make this like a more pronounced thing, I need a little more independence on my part for you, for us.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm no longer like stuck on my family.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like that's step number one of, being happier is like getting away from your family and having your independence. That was my goal, like I'm
Right.
gonna fucking get as independent as I need to, so that I don't have to even consider their thoughts when it comes to decisions made about my own personal life.
Right. Because there's like that power, right? Like you were talking about that earlier, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that power somebody has over you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like when I need somebody help, like keeping a roof over my head, right? When
Yeah.
I need, because I like, you know, when I went through like a bit of a rough minute years ago
Mm-hmm.
where like I was found like kind of, near death, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom like saved me, took me to the hospital, all that stuff for like a long time.
Oh wow.
You kind of develop that like, oh, like I'm a piece of shit because I can't control my life. I'm losing for you at this point.
Mm.
And that's when like a whole long story again, I kind of went back in the closet with
Ah.
all that stuff.
Mm.
So I was down low for a long time, and then I moved out on my own, became like an independent person, got to live my truth, met the woman I'm in love with right now, and just like fell head over heels for her.
Mm-hmm.
And like there is a 100% double life that's happening right now. Where like I have
Mm.
cool people, in like the city I live in, I
Mm-hmm.
want to go back to, versus this more conservative area.
Yeah. But the goal is not to stay in that conservative area. You're planning on going and not, because I guess so. Like what I'm thinking about now is, like you said, if you wanted to make it a more pronounced thing, this would be, either you're totally cutting off your family, or you're, facing that bullshit head on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that you're attempting to move in a direction to where you could face it head on and it wouldn't affect you that much.
Right. That's kind of the hope. That's kind
Yeah.
of the goal, right? Where like I do want to eventually have this fight, have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the feeling is I don't want to be surrounded when that happens.
Yeah, you want backup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I haven't spoken too intimately about this, but when my ex's family found out, um his cousin came to confront me about it, and she was real
Mm-hmm.
shitty, real fucking shitty, like came in the middle of the night cuz she was dramatic. And
Mm-hmm.
my ex didn't do shit to defend me. Sat there in the other
Yeah.
bed, listening to me fight with his cousin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the many, 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 many reasons why I broke up with him. Because it was
Yeah.
like, that's not my family. That's your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fighting them because I love you. And that I remember that
Mm-hmm.
really dramatically shifted the way that I looked at him, because I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't thought that that's how he was. But of course he, he was that way when he was living with me.
Yeah.
Um, so I actually am very curious how does your girlfriend feel about all this stuff? And, you know, I'm assuming she feels supported. And obviously, from what I'm getting, you
Yeah.
are mostly not bringing her around for her own safety, which is a different thing. I think you're not really ashamed of her as much as you don't even want to have the fight. I'm curious how she feels with you getting so close to her family, but her not being able to get close to yours.
You know, I've asked her, and she generally kind of approaches it with a very like kind of laissez-faire feeling about it, like of very much like she kind of approached. She like the way she talks about it to me, and I don't want to like misrepresent what she says or anything, but it's just like they very much like that's whatever. I'm in love with you, not your family.
Yeah.
And like obviously that means like a lot to me, but I think maybe there's just like a little bit of like what you said, kind of seeing your like ex talk about, and maybe in this discussion too about like our download men cowards. I think it speaks to like there's a little bit of me where it's just like wants to be that like kind of macho to be like, actually now fuck that shit, fuck my family, fuck this shit, I love you, let's fucking go, I'm about to throw down, I don't give a fuck. Right? There's like that temptation to just like want to like puff up, you know, the chest and like, you know, be kind of I guess like I don't know, I want to say it, but it sounds like very outdated kind of, but it's like, yo, I want to be like the fucking man in the relationship, I want to be like tough, I want to show you like, yo, I am the man that you are in love with, you know? Right? Because I think that's somewhat of like the conversation, right, of like our, you know, our main cowards, right? Because like coward in particular speaks to like a very particular like puncture of the like macho identity that like men kind of walk around with.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that specifically, the way that cowardice takes on a whole new nuance when we're specifically talking about men. That actually wasn't immediately obvious to me until you just said that.
Yeah. Because like I think when I kind of hear some of this stuff, there almost is like a frustration of the failure of like, yo, why aren't these men being men?
I mean, low key, yeah, that's a whole other conversation though.
Right?
But like, I mean,
right, yeah, it is. It's tough, right?
Part of it for me is like it's frustrating watching someone be on one hand very passionate and very excited about having a proximity to you, and then on the other hand feel so concerned about how acknowledging said desire publicly could change their life forever, that he would treat you in a way that you don't deserve, that like it's just it's one hell of a it's a very interesting line that's very, very blunt, honestly. You know, I mean, fuck, even if we go to more obvious examples, I've had situations where men will, in a group of people, speak very disparagingly about trans folks, then come to me when no one's around and try to fuck, you know?
Right.
And it's like, it's hard for me to watch this person on one hand benefit from everything I've never been able to access ever in my life and never will be, and not be even a quarter of how confident and brave I've had to be in my life. And I think that's probably the big difference is I you know, I could have my choices when I was younger and recognizing that I was trans was that I could either live a very, very unhappy life for the rest of my life, knowing this thing about myself and doing nothing about it. More tangibly, I could have hurt myself and not been able to actually be where I am now. Or I could say, fuck what everyone else has to say. I have to be happy, and I'm going to do what I need to do that. And it's hard to listen to these men who have never really been put in that position exactly, you know, dance around claiming a trans woman, when in my opinion it would be so much easier. I mean, because this came up specifically in our conversation about you know, why so many Black trans women end up dating white men, and that came up because white men can, you know, on the totem pole of privilege. You know, they're right at the top of it. And so they can afford a little bit of
Right.
you know, oh, maybe he's gay kind of thing. They can afford, and they can
Mhm.
laugh it off, and they can make it like a cute thing, you know.
Mhm.
Whereas a lot of men of color, not even just Black men, but men of color in general, kind of sometimes struggle to do that because they don't have the same degree of freedom.
Mhm.
At least they think that, and that's part of this is okay. And I'm glad that you're on the line for this point of thing I want to bring up. Part of me really questions, is this a
Mhm.
self-imposed limitation that men are reinforcing, or is this a real tangible concern that is so large and so glooming that men have a reason to treat trans women the way that they do? Obviously, not a reason, but reason that they can come up with in their head, you know, like something that makes sense to
Yeah.
them, not something that's actually reasonable. Because to me, it's like, God, you're a dude in society, and you're afraid of just saying that you love who you love. Like, that's hard for me to I said that in a previous call. It's hard for me to process.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like, shit, man. If I were a fucking dude, there, you know, the amount of things that I would be more confident about discussing publicly, you know,
Mhm.
like it's just so it's I don't know, but I'm not in that position, and I don't, and have not ever had to internalize half of, the stuff that men are internalizing when it comes to what it means to be a man, and what it's, I don't know if it's a self-imposed thing, because that's my thing with Black men, is I feel like, all right, yeah, are a lot of Black folks transphobic and all these other things? Yeah, but you can choose to allow that to control your life, or you can be confident about your shit, and you can
Mhm.
accept that certain people are going to be ignorant and not accepting of you, and kind of have that be that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of curious how you
100%.
you feel about that.
So like I've definitely thought like 100% about this like before, right? Like
Hmm.
how much is it, being a man and walking through life with like a lot of like the position of being a man, right?
Hmm.
Especially, for me in my context, like very Mexican, Mexican American, about like the machismo, right? The
Hmm.
bravado, right? The positioning yourself up top. For me, like thinking about it growing up, right? Like that was an expectation, but it was often, and I don't mean this for everybody, I don't mean this is a universal experience, but I can speak for myself when I say like that expectation of what it means to be a man was often one reinforced through violence.
Mm.
Like I got beat up a lot as a kid
Mm.
because I just grew up kind of like a soft, kind of quiet kid, and it made me like the bottom of the pecking order basically until
Mm.
I like grew up, grew taller, and like was able to like through any way possible just assert that I am not
Hmm.
at the bottom. And often what that means is like tying yourself and like your identity and like your safety and everything like that, your position tied up in like so many aspects of this identity that eventually become like tied to it, that you can't give it up. And the
Hmm.
fear of losing it means a return to like the pain,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Feeling like
Like
you're on the
even
bottom
even
of.
if not, yeah, because like even if not like, because like you know, even if I wasn't like getting like physically beaten, like I would get like yelled at, emotionally beaten down a lot,
Mm.
right? And so like when the support kind of comes, when the reinforcement comes, it can be intoxicating
Mm.
because
Yeah.
that's happened to me at different points in my life. Like what I meant, like when I reference back to that time, like I was back in the closet basically.
Hmm.
I had like a nice little finance job. I dated somebody the family that was cool,
Mm.
finishing up school, and I was absolutely fucking miserable.
Mm.
but I got a lot of positive reinforcement for it.
Mm.
And it's only when you kind of give that up and you start experiencing a lot more freedom, right? This is, an experience that happens to a lot of folks. Like, you get kind of attached to like the drip feed of like privilege or power or like influence that locks you in like what you are and what you think you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the promise of like strength for a lot of folks is a lie.
Mm.
It is strength insofar as you feel into a role. Like, you are what is useful to somebody else, right? You are what people think is useful to like the broader community of what it means to be a man, right?
Yeah.
And to like even detach yourself from that, you have to like give up. And you know that, obviously, but like, I think Muhammad mentioned this as well. Like, I felt support giving up a lot of that from a lot of my queer friends.
Mm.
Like, really kind of, being honest and identifying, like, yo, I'm like a fucking queer dude, and I made a lot of queer friends, and it's like, oh, cool, we're all fucking getting rid of this shit.
Yeah.
We're all dropping this stuff. Like, that's where like the strength and like support comes from. Like, I was no longer afraid because like, when I lose a job or something would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Like, I'm no longer destitute because like I used to work in like an agency, like a state agency, where you would like investigate businesses in like the bottom of society. We're talking capitalism stuff, but the bottom of society is rough. And it's like the like implicit threat upon everybody. Like, if something happens and your family, your community doesn't support you anymore, you're just going to be another person on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that's not like articulated, my thinking is that is heavily internalized.
Yeah. Well, that's, and I really appreciate you for very neatly stringing together all of the constant threads through all the recent conversations we've had, because I think that like it's not a lot of this isn't conscious. People are encouraged to do certain things and express themselves in certain ways, and to engage in certain activities because it's what we're told we should do. And especially when it comes to men are kind of given this like one cookie cutter image of what a man is, and they feel like failures if they don't happen to live up to that. And so it's it's very, very interesting hearing your perspective, because these are things that, again, we've been talking about. And it's I appreciate you for acknowledging that it's intoxicating, because I think that that's part of why it's painful on our side as trans women to be in closeted situations, because we see how happy these men seem to be. They might not actually be happy, but that's what it seems like, especially when you've been framed as like a negative thing to them, which is what a down low man would be doing. Is he's indirectly kind of telling you that you're not worthy of anything. But
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, what informs that? Right?
Yeah.
What informs like that like opinion, right? If that threat, like, if the feelings are genuine, but like what that sounds like, at least like from my perspective, is like that is positioning you as the threat to their privilege, to their position, to their masculinity, whatever thing you press on them to like reinforce that, you in some way become the enemy. And that's like that's fundamentally the tragedy of it. Right?
Yeah. And that's kind of why I try to point it out to men, because like I don't want to be in positions I don't want to date or be involved with or even fuck men who just, you know, are putting me in that position, because I've been there and it fucking sucks. It really, really, really fucking sucks. There's almost nothing more painful than feeling like who you inherently are is shameful to another person's image. Things you literally can't change about yourself make somebody else feel and look bad, you know? Like, and this is why, like, in the relationships I've been with men who identified as straight, who were very obsessive about seeming straight to everyone around them, you know, so much of what happened between us was they hurt me because of how I, in theory, made in quotations them look or seem to others. And that's fucking crazy. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like a reasonable, realistic dichotomy, you know. Like I said to a previous caller, when you've got secrets, those secrets, you know, become larger and larger with time, and eventually it will explode, you know. And I can't imagine being somebody who, you know, is actively in love with someone, but, you know, or even is interested in something and is too ashamed to acknowledge it, that they, you know, hurt someone in the process,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah, and like to emphasize again, right? Like especially like with my partner, like I'm not ashamed in any way.
Yeah,
I like love her.
of
I
course.
tell her
No.
I love her like every night. I tell my friends I love her. Like
Hmm.
there's nothing there as far as like embarrassment. You
Yeah,
know, we
but
go on
you're in a
dates. I take
situation
her
where
on
your
dates.
family is how they are, and machismo is what it is, and that's like a thing that you would have to take. I mean, it's a conversation larger than you and your family. Way
Right.
larger, way fucking larger.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious, because I haven't got to ask this question, and you're my last caller. Um,
Cool.
do you think that men who are trans attracted need resources and need community?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think yeah, I would say 100%. Like one as just a function of like dudes being dudes, like sometimes need to hear from the dudes like it's not a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like sometimes, like I guess to kind of also like bring it back to that discussion of like protecting their masculinity. Sometimes, at least like what largely works for me in kind of my, I did like kind of an exploration of gender and stuff, and I came away with the feeling like, oh no, I'm just 100% man, but I get to redefine like what being a man is, and for the men
Yeah.
in my life, we get to dictate what being a man is,
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like, and what that means to me in like a relationship. And if
Yeah.
somebody needs to be told that from another man, like, hey, you're still like, if you are a dude, if you feel on the inside of you are a dude, this does not invalidate that at all.
Yeah. And see,
And
that's
fuck
what I was
anybody that
getting
ever told
to.
you.
I think
Yeah.
men need to have those conversations, because to me, like, I understand obviously why men get the messages from society that make them feel a certain way and tell them and encourage them to, you know, da 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 da, blah 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 blah. But like, at what point do we say, okay, maybe I don't align with what society tells men to be, but I'm still a fucking dude, and I fucking like what I like, and none of this invalidates me, because I don't think that it's irrational to, you know, navigate around that invalidation in a way where, you know, you're protecting yourself. But like, I don't know. Like, I think, like, it's so true that men just sometimes need to hear it from other guys, you know, see it from other guys. Cause like, I've had this in my life where I'm rejected by somebody because I'm trans. They see me dating somebody who they know, and suddenly they're open to dating me because they've processed it, and,
Yeah.
you know, it's not as weird to them now. You know.
Right. And I think, I mean, I don't mean to be like rude to like most people, but I
Mm-hmm.
think you kind of probably existed in the world to know that most people probably aren't like extremely insightful, like to themselves, or
Are
like thought about a
insightful,
lot about.
yeah. Yeah, most people are
Yeah.
not being self-reflective and introspective. It's not that deep. I mean,
Yeah.
another caller, you know, mentioned that, like, you know, these men are not thinking that. Like, a lot of these men that we're talking about are literally the extent of the thought goes, I want to fuck a trans person, and that's really the only place. I want to fuck a trans person, and I'm not going to talk to anyone about it, but only because literally it's not that important to me.
Yeah.
So it's such an interesting and complicated conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
And we don't
Well,
have the
I'm glad.
answers here, but we try.
No, I think you get to it. Being honest and vulnerable. I think it's a good step. I appreciate having this conversation with you, though.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in and being one of the, I think, 3 Downlow men that have called in today. So thank you so much for that. I'm gonna go and get ready to see my boyfriend. So
Absolutely. Have fun.
I'm gonna end the call here, but thank you so much for calling.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right, y'all. I think that I have gotten what I need, and I think that we've got a decent call-in show. It still ended up being 3 hours, and I'm still making my boyfriend wait. Did he text me yet? Oh, he's late. Ah! He's apologizing to me for being late, but I literally am late, and oh my god. Okay, so I still have to shower and everything. I just really wanted to be able to get this. So, if you guys missed out on the announcement early on, we will not be having call-in shows anymore on whatever random day I do it. I've decided what I want to do is to do, True Tea every Tuesday, the way that we do it. Um and then the following Tuesday, have a call-in show. So we're going to do it every other week, basically. You're going to get new True Tea episode, call-in show every other week. And I assume I will probably try to get, let's tentatively say that the call-in show will be edited and uploaded by Friday. Let's say that, because that sounds like that sounds like the right way to do it. I've been just re-examining my own degree of dedication and how much time this takes from other stuff. So I've been trying to think of like what's a sustainable way in which I can do this. These call-in shows often end up being 3 hours long, and as you can see, they cut into my they cut into my dates and things like that, because I try not to work on the weekends, but we had one hell of a time with this one. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. The next topic we're doing is going to be kink at Pride. You guys are going to be getting a video episode on Tuesday, so expect to see that. But I will say that the podcast version is going to be different than the video version. I actually filmed one video and then ended up getting it all corrupted and everything when I was importing it. So, there's that. But I did have the one where I recorded the audio. So that's what's going to go up, because it's like crazy. Like, I filmed such a good take. It was a really good take, you guys. It was a really good take. And I'm really not as into the second take that I did, but it is what it is. We got what we got. So I'm excited for that call-in show. That call-in show will not be this Tuesday, but it will be next Tuesday. That's the Tuesday after it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go let my boyfriend in and jump in the shower. I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, let me make this unlisted. If you would like to get a link to this chat, you want, get the link now, because it is going unlisted right now. All right, all right, I'm gonna end this, guys. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for showing up. Bye.